Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
'Hello, it's good to be back, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, Canada's longest running soccer podcast, and the only soccer show on Vancouver radio, broadcasting on CITR radio, 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful and somewhat stormy British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
And what a packed show we've got for you this week. Would you expect anything different, Zach?
No.
That means that there's no Whitecaps, there's no CPL to talk about, but we've got a 5-hour show ahead because we've been doing a lot of chats this week and there is a lot of football to talk about. We are starting our Whitecaps end of season / off season stuff in this episode. We'll be really taking a bigger dive in the coming weeks, but we're going to start things off. We'll be hearing from Vanni Sartini, we'll be hearing from Axel Schuster. We've got a couple of chats with some Whitecaps Canadian players, Ali Ahmed, Sam Adekugbe, and we've got a lot more to talk about as well. We'll be doing a movie review even. But I want to, before we get into all of that, I just want to have a little chat about the football that has taken place this weekend, because this has been an absolutely tremendous weekend for BC college and university soccer. In U Sports, in CCAA, in NCAA, the BC schools are going strong because for the 8th time, a record increasing 8th time, UBC Thunderbirds women are your U Sports national champions, beating your girls from Trinity Western. What an absolutely fantastic run this team has got under Jesse Simons. Some absolute quality in there, and they won the big show this afternoon with a 119th minute winner from U Sports Player of the Year, Kat Tony, heading home, and the good times can begin.
Congrats, yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, I know you're not really a Trinity Western supporter as such, but you went there for a little bit, didn't you?
I went to I've done some courses at Axe Seminary, which is on the campus at Trinity Western. So I thought actually you were going to talk about, when you're excited about big matches, the Nacha d'Or.
The Nacha d'Or?
Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what that is. Sounds foreign.
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the highlights yet. I didn't even know what it was until I was looking up some scores. There was apparently a match between Miami FC and NYCFC, and it's called the Nacha d'Or.
Do you know? I saw that, or I saw those two teams advertised on Apple.
Yeah,
on Friday night, and I was like, "Oh, but that's a mistake."
No, it was not a mistake.
It was an actual live match.
I have not watched the highlights, but yes, it was. Guess who won?
Messi.
Well, unless he played
Apple TV.
Apple TV. I don't even know if he played. I haven't even looked at.
I would imagine that this has just been arranged for Messi to get some games on Apple.
Let's see if he actually played. I'll tell you if he played here in a second. Oh, he did start. Yeah, he started. It was a 2-1 victory for Man City Light against Golden Balls Light.
Oh, superb.
Goals from Fernandez and Tallis. He's not a bad player. And then who scored?
They also provide my internet and my cable TV.
Robinson scored for the Inters.
Wow. So basically, they're just creating their own postseason.
I guess
It's not bad enough that 60% of the league can get into the postseason, but we'll still have the other teams playing something.
literally it's like the Noche d'Or. Can you? I don't know if you can see that.
No, I can, yeah. Oh, that wasn't how I was thinking it.
Am I saying that right? Noche d'Or.
Yeah, I would say
it's
so.
the Golden Night. Is that what that
Yeah.
means?
So does this mean the CPL is going to have a game between Valor and Vancouver? The basement door. And whoever loses falls out the trap
It falls
door
out, yeah.
into League One.
Yeah, it does sound like actually like a relegation playoff.
Oh, poor Inter Miami now in the same league now as Miami FC.
I haven't checked who won tonight. Because maybe they play the winner of the USL Championship.
Oh, that was exciting. That was Phoenix.
Oh, they rose because they rose
But-
over.
Literally, they did. Phoenix Rising scored a 90th minute equaliser and then won the game on penalties.
Oh, I hadn't got a chance to see that yet.
Oh, well, you
I
asked
wanted-
me, so
I
I spoiled it for you.
I wanted Sacramento Republic to win the
Yeah,
final.
I did as well. But I mean, getting back to college soccer, I've
Yeah.
got a lot more congratulations to do here. So well done to UBC's women on their 8th national title. Also, I've got to say well done as well to Trinity Western. And one of my favourite things from this game is UBC's teams under Jesse Simons. They're quite physical, which, as you can imagine, I love. These girls are not afraid to put themselves about a bit. And in the Canada West final a week ago, in the first 10 minutes, there was my favourite rotational kicking of a player, as 4 different UBC players just took out the Spartans girl. But it continued in this game with Sofia Ferreira. I don't know if she broke a nose or knocked the tooth of Sophie Crowther out in the first half, and then she did a wrestling slam in the second half, and she got the foul going in her favour. Tremendous stuff. And then at the end of the game, UBC won the Fair Play Award. It brought a smile to my face. So well done to UBC women, gold medal winners in the U Sports women's side, and the men picked up bronze, beating Mount Royal Cougars in the bronze medal match-up this morning from Cape Breton. They should have been going for gold. They let 2 goals in the space of 90 seconds when the game looked to be going to extra time. They were just caught pushing forward and then caught a second time. And this was a men's team that was one of the best men's teams for a long time. And the wait goes on. They haven't won a national title since 2013. They've had so many good players come through that programme. Caleb Clark, Victory Shambusho, Tommy Gardner, Nick Fussell. So many good players, but the wait goes on. But well done to the women. In NCAA, it was a double GNAC championship win for SFU. The Red Leafs, I headed out to the game on Saturday afternoon. Now, I think I talked in a previous show, I was trying to get to my first game of the season up the mountain a few weeks back, and it got postponed because of the fog. Well, this game was meant to go at 1 o'clock, but they brought it forward because I had to play it at Burnaby Lake because of the fog. So I woke up at 5 to 10 to a message from SFU head coach Clint Schneider saying, "Oh, the game's been moved to 10 o'clock at Burnaby Lake." Now, he sent it to me at 8:20, probably imagining that a normal person would be up at that time on a Saturday. So I woke up at 5 to 10, threw my clothes on, made a tea, jumped in the car, got there at 20 past 10, and I missed SFU scoring 4 goals in that first 20 minutes. They ended up winning 5-1, won the GNAC Championship. They're going into the NCAA National Tournament. They'll find out what their fate is on Monday when all the schedule is announced. But the women's slightly different. They have a Final Four, and it was in Ellensburg, Washington. And they went into that as the 4th seed. And for the first time ever, the 4th seed advanced to the championship game, knocking out the number 1 seed. And not only did they do that, in the final, they beat the defending national champions to bring home the gold. And again, it was a late winner in the women's side.
Wow.
So pleased for SFU. Isabella Mussolini, TSS Rovers player, got the goal that put them ahead, and then just fantastic stuff to win it 2-1. So well done to both the SFU teams. Their seasons continue as the NCAA tournament kicks off at the end of this coming week. And my final well done, Douglas College Royals men won their second national title in CCAA on penalties out in Ontario. It's just been a fantastic weekend for BC colleges. There has been some other games to talk about, which we won't delve into tons, but Canada kicked off their under-17 campaign with a 2-0 loss, I think it was in the end, to Spain. And
a very respectable 2-0 loss. Did you watch the game, or did you fast forward through it?
Oh, no, I watched the game.
Did you watch it live?
No, at 5 a.m? No.
This time I chose not to watch live.
No, do you know what? I didn't get your message on Friday. I only saw it on Saturday. For whatever reason, because I know you've been having trouble with the WhatsApp messages showing up. I just didn't see it. So I hadn't messaged you because I didn't know if you'd watched it or not. But I thought they put in a very respectable showing. After going down to 10 men,
harsh.
I didn't know Tim Ford was down in Indonesia at this World Cup.
Technically, I think it would be over in Indonesia. But yeah. It's right.
Over, under. Well, it's down. It's definitely south.
It's a little bit down? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's closer. Yeah, you're right. It's over and down.
But, I mean, if anyone hasn't seen it, what a ridiculous sending off that was.
Yeah.
Mauro Biello's son, who he was speaking so proudly about being at a World Cup as well. I really felt for him.
It was very harsh.
It was a foul for Canada, and Biello Jr. ran over to get the ball in a very wet pitch. And his foot extended. He slipped. He slipped. Foot extended as he's picking the ball
on the guy's ankle.
Yeah. Absolutely accidental. Yellow card, maybe. A red card, no way.
Well, didn't he got a yellow and then they re-gave it, or they gave nothing? Yeah. He got a yellow, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was extremely harsh.
I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the game, to be honest. But
Canada has some chances.
They were only 1-0 down at that point.
EJ himself had some chances.
Oh, yes. He was looking good.
Very, very proud of him. And even, I was really happy. I thought the team acquitted themselves well. They have are you recording Monday morning's game?
Yes, right? I will be. So the time that this comes out, folk will know the result of the second game. I haven't had a chance to watch today's matches yet. They're on my PVR. Did you watch Saturday's games?
No, I only recorded Canada and Germany's matches so far, and I've watched Canada's and I've watched most of Germany's, of which I'm pretty sure I can guess the result.
Well, do you know the results of the other two games on Saturday with Argentina and...
No, you can tell me. You can tell me all that.
Oh, right. Well, so Argentina were playing Senegal, and they were 2-0 down.
Nice.
At half-time. They did get a goal in stoppage time, but Senegal beat Argentina 2-1.
Love it.
And you thought that was going to be the shock of the day. Oh, no. Brazil, Iran. Brazil.
Sorry, I haven't heard any of this.
Oh, Brazil were 2-0 up at half-time. Iran, 3 second-half goals in the space of 20 minutes to come away with a 3-2 victory.
Wow.
And I tell you, they were full value for it as well. I mean, that's the only games we'll kind of talk about in the intro. I was going to as well talk about the lack of media that had turned up at TFC's end-of-season press conference. But I'm going to actually save that for us to have a deeper chat about Canadian soccer in a later show, because...
I saw you tweeting about that.
Well, yeah, I tweeted about it. Gareth Wheeler had a good thing on One Soccer about it, and a tweet about it. Armin Bedakarian had a good Twitter thread about it as well. So I think that's something for another day.
We should save it. I just want to say there was one awkward comment that I didn't reply to that was basically having a go at Gareth Wheeler, which I understand, but then also having a go at One Soccer, including the statement not creating opportunities in the industry. And I was just like, One Soccer.
Yeah, the only actual TV station stroke company that is providing jobs in Canadian soccer.
So it was just a little bit. I was just like, who? I can't remember who made the comment, but it was really,
Yeah.
it was really odd.
But we'll get into all of that in a future show because I think it's a very good chat to have, and we'll maybe have some talking heads on one of our panels that I keep promising that we'll do in these off seasons. But the off seasons are just getting so busy, and as regular listeners will know, these are my favourite shows to do. And if you thought the normal season shows were long when we had actual games to talk about, strap yourself in, because we are in for a feast of footballing chat over the coming weeks and months. And we're going to start off in this part. We're going to be kicking off our Whitecaps end of season stroke off season start chat, because the off season has started. Vanni and Axel held their end of season presser on Tuesday, and they held meetings with the players on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday this week, with roster decisions announced on Friday, sadly depriving us of our in, out and on the bubble chat where we would speculate who might be staying, who might be going, who we're not sure about, because all the decisions have already been made. The club has exercised the 2024 MLS contract options on 5 players, bringing the first team roster to 19 for next year, as well as 2 players who are out on loan. So the options were picked up on goalkeeper Isaac Boehmer, wing-back Ryan Raposo, as well as forward Simon Betcher and Levonte Johnson. And the Whitecaps also exercised the 2024 and 2025 contract options for centre-back Tristan Blackman. And we'll get into all of these in a little bit. The club declined the options on goalkeeper Thomas Hasal, centre-back Mateo Capagna and midfielder Cameron Habibullah. Hasal will be eligible for the MLS free agency, whereas Capagna and Habibullah are eligible for the re-entry draft. The club is continuing discussions with centre-back Karifa Yao and midfielder Russell Tybert, both in their option years. Midfielder Sebastian Berhalter and forward Junior Hoylett are out of contracts at the end of the year, while wing-back Richie Larrea's loan from Nottingham Forest runs to the end of December. Discussions are ongoing with all 3 players, so no huge surprises due to the contracts that we knew were going to be here for next year, and I think the ones that were picked up, you'd expect them to get picked up. But there is a couple of key talking points. We'll get to that in a sec, but first of all, let's just hear a little bit from Whitecaps Sporting Director and General Manager Axel Schuster, explaining the decisions and what it means for the club and the squad moving forward. Here's Axel S. We've obviously had the roster announcements come out this morning. Was this one of the easiest ones for you? Because there's such a good core. There's not a lot out of contract. There's not a lot moving on, just a few of the young guys. Was it fairly easy decisions for you, or did you have to ponder over a few?
Yeah, maybe the decisions have been easy. I don't think that there was any decision that really surprised anyone here. But I have to say, we really took the time. We had all those meetings, as I told you on Tuesday. We were sitting down with every player. We blocked 45 minutes. We blocked an hour, actually. We were assuming that every meeting can take up to 45 minutes. And I have to say, it was completely exhausting. Because you want to go in those meetings with 100%. You want to give every player the same attention. And you want to be there for him for those 45 minutes. And so I would say a few of those meetings haven't been easy, because although the decision probably is right, and also I have to give credit to also our young guys who understood really well why we took this decision. Actually, they all agreed that a fresh new start somewhere else might be the best solution for them, that a fresh new start can also, I think, kick off their career after being here in this environment for a long time. But we kept those meetings very open, and they have been quite emotional at some point. If players spoke about the whole way they came through the system and how long they are here and what they have made through, and the guys have been great. I have also to say I'm very surprised by a few by a few of their remarks, how realistic they see their situation, also the areas they have to grow. And then, so I'm very hopeful that all of them will do a great next step. And we offered them all support. We also offered them to come back to train if they don't have a club at that point. So I have to say we kept it on a very high level in I would say also very friendly. It's friendly the right word, but there were no hard feelings, there were no negativity in the room, and that maybe even made it harder somewhat because then you get into their mind, you understand where they are and also how they struggle at somehow with their career, and so easy maybe it was easy to take the right decisions, but the meetings for that reason haven't been easier.
Yeah, I imagine it is a horrible part of the job because you're letting players go, especially guys that's come through the academy. But for this team to take the next step, obviously there has to be some new additions come in. And I know the players that have been renewed might not be the ones that's here to start the next season. Looking at some, like, without mentioning specific names, obviously, because I wouldn't put you in the spot for that, but there's maybe some players in the squad that didn't feature regularly, but they are carrying a high price tag salary-wise. Do you feel you have to move some on to bring in the pieces that you want, or do you have that cap space now to get the guys in that you need and still keep everyone that you currently have?
Look, I would say it this way. I don't disagree with you on maybe the specific point, but I disagree with you that this is a limitation for a better performance, or has been a limitation for a better performance. We have missed the third spot, the place number 3 by 4 points. We could have easily. We could have got this 4 points more. I don't think that the season was at any point the season was nice to us. We have missed a lot of results where we really deserved the results, and we have not got any result this season where we have not deserved the result, other than the Galaxy game in the Leagues Cup, but that wasn't a league. So said that, it is. I think it's the normal thing. I think we should, and I'm not saying you're not. So don't get me wrong. I say we have to stay on the ground and have to look at the things in a very realistic and normal way. And you always have a player that is maybe a little bit underperforming to what his piece of the cake in the whole cap is. But you have on another guys that are completely overperforming, and if you have such a guy and he comes here with a lot of expectations, and then he is not playing because a young guy that is in our team is performing so well, then I'm almost up for seeing more the positives of the young guy that is doing so well than to see the negatives. And also I think what I've learned, and we all have learned, is that adaptation into this league takes time. We had some interesting conversations also about a few players that haven't played that much that said the season should start now for me. And now I really have, I think, find out how to play in this league. I'm better prepared to play in this league. And maybe maybe that what I bring up a name because maybe you wanted to bring him up. No, you didn't want it, but maybe it was a player you had in mind. We had a really, really good conversation with Matthias Laborda, and I would say his last game against LAFC, playing against one of the best strikers, or maybe the best striker in this league, and shutting him completely off because Bouanga had really a hard time to play against him. He was the guy that said, "Look, the season should start now," because now I think I figured a little bit out how to play in this league and how to defend a player like Bouanga, and there's nothing to disagree with. So for us, it's more important to the conversation that we had with him, and also now our whole considerations. Is he playing enough next year because of what he has shown at the end of the year? That then maybe his cap charge is right. or not? And then we have to make this decision. And that's now, don't quote me too much on Matthias Laborda, because it's only one example, because I think he did very, very well. And I can tell you that all the stats of this game, he was one of the best defenders, in the top 3 defenders of this round in the playoffs in that game. So yeah, maybe also some things sometimes take a little bit more time. I reminded the one or the other, even some players, that Brian White, 3 months into the Whitecaps, was called out by fans and some other people, not saying no one that is here on the call, obviously, but some others, as a big mistake signing. And now I don't think that anyone would say that. So we have to find a very good balance between patience and giving a player enough time to grow and maybe grow into the role, and also making decisions at the right time, and then maybe move on. And that doesn't mean anything. That's not bad. Maybe not even bad for the player. Maybe the player is somewhere else, a great fit, and plays 34 games. And then we say, wow, he didn't play that much for us, but he's doing so well somewhere else. And then we have to say, yeah, but it was maybe not the right fit for our style, our culture. So yeah, we are in the middle of all those decisions. But in general, of course, and now I've spoken so long and I'm answering a lot of questions already. In general, of course, we think the team needs something. And if everyone allows me to speak 4 or 5 more sentences, maybe I answer the one or the other question. What does this team need? I would say 3 things. And I would like to say that because it's just in my mind, and it's great now to say that. The one thing is the right mindset in the offseason. I think 2 years ago, we made the playoffs. And I think maybe because of the whole story of the season, COVID, 1.5 years or 2 years, we had been in this season half of a year still in Salt Lake. And then we came from last, after 17 games, we have been last in the league. So we made the playoffs. And I think everyone really took too much off. And everyone, because of all the challenges we had with COVID, but then on the other side also maybe because we were too high after making the playoffs and then got eliminated in Kansas. I can tell you that everyone this year came to the meeting, said, I don't know about the season. It was a good season, but not a great season. And I think that's the first thing we need in this offseason, because the next season starts today. And everyone has to go in with the right mindset into the offseason, also our players, and they have to come back best prepared, because probably the season will start early for us. And we need everyone to be best prepared and come back in with how he was now, because we want to build from where we have been now. And then I would say the second thing that we obviously need is to keep the majority of our players, because we have been close to be a top team. So we shouldn't lose too many of them, because that also imbalanced the team maybe at some point. And that's obviously the homework that we have to do now. And then lastly, yes, we definitely need also a little bit of fresh blood, because we don't want to have too many things too preset. So we need a little bit of fresh blood also to challenge the guys that are here and have done very well, and to create this competition in training again, and to push those guys. And at the end, if the same 11 guys play and they play the same way we have played now, and where we competed with the best on a high level, where we actually played and performed in a way that you can be a top 4 team in the Western Conference, then it's fine. If somebody is doing better than those that are here, yeah, also good. So whatever the outcome is, but I don't want us to allow any step back in the performance. And for that reason, we have to make the right decisions now.
I want to ask about Tristan Blackman. You exercise the option for 2024 and 2025 for him. Do you then see him as a leader in this team, enough for you to now, like you sort of said, easily extend both of those options? And how do you see him sort of growing with the club and throughout his career?
Yeah, look, first of all, I have to say that he executed the option himself, because there were automatic triggers in that, and he had every trigger this year. So, so he deserves that. There was no doubt. If it would have been the other way, we would have executed the option as well. I think, although it maybe was a shock for him when we used the expansion draft pick to steal him from LAFC and bring him to Vancouver, I think he really has settled in very well. He's a key player for me because to have a successful group, you need a variation of different profiles in your group, and you need also a few guys that are make themselves available. They are training always on a high level. They compete always on a high level, but at the same time, they are absolutely fine of not being always in the floodlight. So the hard workers in a group that balance a group. You cannot only have leaders, you cannot only have young players, you need also this basis on that you can build everything, and I would say he's definitely one of those. I think his total profile is such a good MLS profile, being such a fast and physical defender. I can tell you that obviously no one is allowed to speak with him, but a lot of clubs have reached out over the years to us and asked if he would be for any offer, be open to move him. And we always have passed on that because we see him being such an important piece in our club, having a domestic player with all these qualities, somebody who feels so well in Vancouver, and somebody who can play on so many different positions. Is key. So as I said, you have to build your team. You cannot build your team only on 2 or 3 maybe highlight players. You need a very, very good basis, and I would say he's at the top end of our basis.
So Axel Schuster there, just chatting about the roster decisions that were made. So we'll get into it now, Zach. If we look at the 5 contract options that were exercised, I don't think there's anything shocking there. Boehmer had clearly overtaken Hassau as the number 2 for me.
Yeah, I think that's significant. I also think the Blackman, I know I texted you about this. The Blackman thing. So I texted you and I was like, what's up with Blackman being taken for 2 years at one time?
Yeah. So that's the most intriguing one. Well, yeah, because Axel was asked about that. So basically, and I might have picked him up wrong. I've listened to it back, and you can kind of take it 2 ways. And we didn't include it in our little chat there. So Blackman had built-in triggers on his contract that were hit, performance triggers, so that if he hit them, it would extend his contract.
But extended if he wanted to, or extended, or automatically?
It felt like I got the impression that the player had wanted them extended.
Cool.
But Axel said that the club would have extended it anyway because they're very happy with what Tristan has brought. But also, I can't help but think, because Axel said there's been a lot of interest in Tristan Blackman from other clubs around the league. And I do feel this might be a kind of view to a possible future trade. It drives his trade value up because they're like, well, we've got him in contract for 2 years. If you want him, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for him. So a good bit of business. And he's a guy I do want to have around, but not necessarily always as your starter. I do think that is a position that we can improve upon.
Yeah, I think that's valid. It's interesting to hear that. This is the first time I can recall a player having their contract extended for multiple years in one moment. When maybe there was others I'm just forgetting, but it's good for obviously good for the player, and it sounds like Axel's on board, and so that's good. And like you said, it gives them a player that they're happy with, but also, yeah, like you said, it would increase his value in terms of if someone did come in for him. So yeah, all makes sense.
The other players, well, actually, we touched on Thomas Hassau. Well, let's get back to Thomas. So he's one of the 3 homegrown players that has moved on, and I think it's the best thing for him. Now, an interesting thing that Axel also said in his chat was when they had the end of season chats with the 3 homegrowns, they came into the meetings also agreeing it was time for them to move on. They wanted fresh opportunities.
The homegrowns themselves did.
Yeah, they felt it was time for them to have a new environment, to be playing regularly, and to continue their development. And that was great to hear.
Yeah.
Because I said to Axel, it's tough. It's the tough part of his job because you know you're kind of almost breaking some guys' hearts, especially when they've come through the academy. It's like, well, you're going to have to find a new club now. That's just the nature of football. It's just how everything works. And it's worse. I mean, I've watched a number of shows in recent years where it's like in the UK academy players that are told at 17, 18, yeah, you're not making it with Arsenal, with Chelsea, whoever. You're going to have to try and drop down to League Two or non-league, and their hopes and dreams are shattered, and they've maybe not given their education what they should, and now they kind of hung out to dry a little bit. So I mean, these guys are older, and you have to feel though that the CPL beckons for all three of them. Although Thomas Hasal has proved himself in MLS, could he be a guy? And because he's a homegrown, the domestic rules, I think he qualifies, they'd count as a domestic for a US team. Do you see him continuing his career in MLS?
My guess would be there's a small chance of that happening. Like, I wouldn't say never, but it feels like a small. Also, like the injuries he's had, I think they would give clubs at least a moment of pause for concern, right? With head stuff and hand stuff and whatever. Maybe the head stuff more so. I could see an MLS club saying, hey, we want to make you our number two. I think if you're Thomas Hasal, though, for the age he is and the place he's at, I think you need to go somewhere, whether that's CPL or somewhere else in North America or somewhere else.
I mean,
there's
USL as well, which have different rules.
He needs to be somewhere where he is going to be the primary keeper who's starting like 90+% of the matches.
Yeah,
that's what he needs. So he needs a club that's going to kind of commit to that with him and choose to kind of ride or die with him over the coming year, or ideally multiple years, to allow him to develop, because everyone's seen he has abilities, he has qualities that, you know, could continue to develop to be a very good keeper and could play at a very respectable level, whether in North America again or abroad. So,
well, I mean, abroad is the other option, of course, as well for him. Yeah. And like he's a very good keeper, and I do feel his development was stunted. He had a couple of bad seasons, but in part it's because you're not playing every week. I mean, you're a young keeper; you need to be playing. I know he got those starts when Max left, but you need to.
I wonder if it would be hard for him to go to CBL because there's no way he'll make the money he made in MLS.
Well, that's the thing as well,
right? So it's like, do you want to go where you're likely to play 29 games for your club, or minimum of 29 games for your club, but make like not even half what you made, like a third probably tops of what you made in MLS or whatever.
But you could be staying in Canada. I mean, if the Saskatchewan CPL team, if everything had gone ahead and it was coming into the league next year, I mean that would have been made for him.
Unfortunately, that's
returning, but it's not.
But that's not where we're at at the moment.
But if you look around the CPL, you've also got to say what CPL club would need a keeper like Thomas Hasal that's going to come in and be the starter, because Pacific is the automatic choice, I would have thought, earlier this year if it hadn't been for the injury. And I do think they need a better keeper than the two that they've got. But just outside of that, I like, he's not going to Cavalry. He's not dislodging Carducci. He's not dislodging Irving. He's not doing. I mean, possibly he could have a battle in Valor with Yesley, but then Yesley's nominated for goalkeeper of the year.
And as Alex would tell us, has some really quality stats to back up that nomination.
Yeah,
obviously there are people who feel otherwise, but that would be an interesting potential spot for him.
The other two, Mateo Capagna, I do wonder, does he make the move out to Halifax to join his brother Christian?
Yeah.
I mean, they were very good together with WFC2 last year.
I see him going. Yeah, I can see him making a smooth transition to CPL. It's Cam that I'm a little bit concerned of, because he's already been on loan in the CPL and
didn't
really
do well.
Struggled to make the breakthrough at Pacific when everyone had high hopes that he would. So is there a club in the CPL who's willing to give him another chance at that level?
I would hope so. I mean, I've seen some comments of folk going, he just hasn't, he was meant to be the next big thing and he hasn't developed. And it's like, oh, what has he done? He was terrible at Pacific. I'm taking this almost verbatim from a Discord chat I was reading.
Yeah.
He's terrible. He was terrible at Pacific, and he's done nothing since. The folk that are saying that clearly did not watch the first half of WFC2 season, where Cam was excellent and hit a number of bangers, and I'd kind of questioned why he wasn't maybe not getting a call-up. But it's not just goals. It was the other attributes, like, can he put in a defensive shift? Can he be less selfish on the ball? And those were what he was tasked as working with in WFC2. And to be honest, I don't know that he overcame those challenges. And he's going to need to overcome those if he's going to make a go of it in the CPL. I mean, would you see him at Vancouver FC? Do you think he'd be a good fit there, or would him and Afshin maybe not be a good mix?
Yeah, I guess there's potential for that. I mean, Vancouver needs to improve in so many ways, right? So I don't see Vancouver saying, no, that's not a player we don't want in terms of his abilities and potential. But I wonder, what Rob Friend's perspective will be on having, had him in the past and knowing the behind the off-field stuff, right? Is he a fit for what we're trying to do? You know what I mean? And
how
how
end
that
up with the two Habibullah brothers there, because obviously Masood was taking part in some of the trial. Because I would not be surprised to see Cam at least involved in the mix in January. To kind of have training look at him. Axel said for the three of them, if they haven't found a club by January, they've all been told they can come back and train with the MLS team.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. I mean, this is a case, and we've spoken about it so many times over the years, and the Whitecaps have changed. They really are looking after the players, and they're looking for the best of them. And Axel also made note that they keep an eye on all these guys. And they've been watching the likes of Patrick Metcalf over in Norway with Fredrikstad. And they're following their progress. And that's just something that wasn't happening before. So, I mean, that is fantastic to see as well. Going back to a couple of the options that were picked up as well, like Simon Betcher, Levante Johnson, no-brainers for me. We're going to be having our usual end-of-season sit-down chats with Vanni and with Axel, our kind of thorough 20, 30-minute chats that we'll have to bring you in our December shows. I do want to ask Vanni about why the two of them dropped off. Simon Betcher in particular started the season on fire and then was just getting limited minutes and wasn't getting used. And then Levante, when he first signed his deal, was looking great, and then he's been used so sparingly as well. It's just a little odd to me. Yeah,
you wonder how much is it them in training not showing that they're worth minutes through obviously that route, and or them, young players who when they come in, they make a bit of a splash in the league, and then they are kind of figured out by teams or coaches, and they know how to minimize their impact or whatever. But yeah, it was a little bit surprising with Betcher. I felt especially. I thought he was going to be on for like newcomer of the year or young player of the year, the way that he was scoring those goals and breaking records, and it was like, oh wow. Yeah. And I've still got high hopes for him. He's a great forward, and they're certainly needing to add to the forward line as well, and not just rely so much on Brian White. So yeah, I mean, the other one, Ryan Raposo. He's cheap, he's versatile, he's the depth guy you need. Mm-hmm. You can rely on him to be a starter for the odd game, you can rely on him to come off the bench. He's worked so hard at putting in a defensive shift, and it's really hard not to root for the guy because he just lives and breathes football, and he loves being part of this club. I feel he's a bit also I feel he's like the new Russell Tybert though. Well, I feel he's a little bit polarizing. When you listen, I've seen some comments about that. Yeah, some people think he, like you said, he's great and he's one of our own. He's Canadian, been here for a long time. But all that good stuff is, you can never question his work rate or his effort, at all. But then you have other people who just feel like his quality is not what they would hope for from someone who gets the amount of minutes that he does, kind of thing. I said that about him, I think, at some point last year, maybe even the year before, and that's not what I'm referencing. No. but
But he turned it around, and he's shown his worth, especially in the Canadian Championship games where he plays out of his skin.
Which they needed some quality Canadians to be on the field.
Exactly. Well, talking to Russell Tybert, him and Karifa Yao are two players that they're still in contract talks with. We'll delve into Rusty in a bit more detail, but my first question to you is, surely neither of them are coming back, and there has to be an upgrade.
I'll be honest, I was a little surprised at the language for Yao being we're still in discussions with him, because that didn't seem to make sense.
And that's nothing against Karifa. I just don't think he's MLS quality, and it's a centre-back position that we have to improve on.
Yeah. And
we'll hear in next week's show, and we're looking at what we need to improve upon. Vanni says, we have to stop conceding as many goals. And Karifa Yao, as good as he was in CPL, is not the guy that you're looking to then bring in to be the player that's going to help them to do that. Yeah. So he's not going to get a lot of playing time.
And as much as it'll have been nice to get the MLS money for a year, I think you have to be able to hopefully recognize that it's better for you to go play CPL or go play at a different level, a different league, a different opportunity where you're actually going to play to continue to grow, right? There's a fine line there's a fine balance, not a fine line. There's a fine balance to a player between the mentality of, yes, I want to always be bettering myself. I want to always be on the field I want to provide for my family or for myself or whatever, right? There's a tension there for every player, no matter how good or you are or whatever, right? That always comes into play. I mean, we can talk about without Alphonso Davies and what's going on with him right now. We always, I think, look at it from the sporting side and say, look, it's much better to be playing at a where you're maybe not going to make as much money, but you're going to be playing and can either be happy with that playing and or improve yourself to maybe kick on even more. So,
well, he's still just 23.
Yeah, exactly.
And
totally.
I think that might be in part of it, that the Whitecaps are like, look, we could have you next year play mostly WFC 2 and see if your development comes on.
I forgot to check. How much did he play this year for WFC 2?
Not tons.
Yeah, that's what I didn't think.
That was the surprising thing.
That's an awkward thing. But again, they're trying to blood younger players, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, he got some first team minutes. He's come through Montreal. Then he was loaned to Cavalry. I'm sure Tommy would love him back, him and Dan Klomp in the back, just to bolster that, give him the chance. I mean, maybe it could also be, we'll keep you on, but we'll loan you back to a CPL team like Cavalry. You'll get a chance to play in Champions Cup. You'll get to play at top level, and we'll monitor your progress there. That I would like to see. I'd be very happy if they did that, to be totally honest with you. Russell Tybert, on the other hand, surely it's time for him to move on. But with his salary, which off the top of my head is $450, and I know you can't just factor salaries in, and we'll talk about that in a sec with a couple of other players.
But it's important.
It's very important, especially when he's been on the bench and hasn't been coming on. He's been an unused sub for so much of this season. Where would he go? Because he's not going to command any money like that. And the fact that they're still in contract talks with him, what goes through my head is this going to be another to St. Ricketts situation where he's on a playing salary just above, say, league minimum, but he's hired to be a front office person, club ambassador, working in the community, something like that.
But do you see him wanting to play that kind of role both on the field and off the field? And
I do, actually.
Do you see that being a good fit for him, his personality, and for
off it? Yeah, he does a lot of stuff in the community that I think a lot of folk don't see that he's done, and he's won the community award for the last couple of seasons. So that aspect of it, I think he would really enjoy. He's spoken a lot about how Vancouver is his home now, because he's been here since a young lad. So I don't think he wants to go back east. And then, he might retire. I know he's still really young to do that, and just more take a backseat front office role. But if you could offer him a playing contract as well, like Toss, so it's like, we're not going to use you, or, well, have you playing in WFC2 to mentor the young guys coming through?
It feels weird because like it was really noticeable how I know he had a little injury or whatever near the end there, but he wasn't getting on the field.
Yeah.
Like it was that was significant, right? Because you started the year where wasn't it? Was this still the year where you started with like armband gate, like just him coming on the field and Gold having to walk over and give
Yeah.
an armband, and everyone's like, "What? Why are they doing this?" And yeah, I mean, I have no problem. Unlike, yeah, I'm not surprised and don't have any real issue with them saying, "Hey, we're still talking to Rusty about what's next." And he could still be here. I think there's a good level of respect that he's more than earned. But I don't know if but I said at the same time, I struggle to see. I think he could do very well at this, but I struggle to see him maybe wanting to go and play in USL or CPL or
Yeah,
somewhere
see,
else.
that's the thing. I can't see him doing that either. I think he is your epitome of the old-fashioned one-club man.
Yeah, which I guess he played youth for TFC a little bit, but yeah, he was only a
Yeah.
Whitecap. Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. If they brought him back just as a player, it's not going to go down well with the fan base.
Yeah, I think that's going to be hard to swallow, even if it is on a much lower amount, which obviously
Yeah.
you think it would be. But that's the other thing is, well, I guess no matter what happens, it would be nice. Again, assuming people were respectful about it, he didn't get he got that 300 game thing moment, right?
Yeah,
But
and they were very respectful at the game. He got
yeah,
applause.
but it was in I think other situations I've seen at other clubs in other nations around the world, that would have been him saying, "Hey, I'm leaving, or I'm
Yeah.
retiring, or I'm done, or this is my goodbye," like.
Yeah, well,
But
his
I guess it's
birthday's
almost
in
his birthday for
December,
him.
and he'll be 31. So at the start of next
Yeah.
season, he's 31. He could hang his boots up. If he was going to do that, I would imagine he's done it now. So I think there's got to be a dual role somewhere as
Yeah.
club ambassador. And you know what? He deserves it for his loyalty to the club
Did
in
he-
that regard. And as I say, what he does in the community that often goes unnoticed, I think he'd be very good at it.
Did he win the beep test this year? I can't remember.
I don't know. I can't remember if he was injured at the start of the season or if that was the year before. Everything just blurs into one now. But I mean, that's certainly an interesting one to keep our eye on. I also asked Axel about moving players on that are under contract just now. So we've got these 19 players, but we're maybe not contributing what their salary dictates. And I didn't mention any names. And he said, because I said, I won't mention any names. And he goes, I'll mention one then, because you're meaning Laborda. I was like, yeah, I was actually, yeah. So he feels Matthias Laborda really started to come into his own as the season came to an end. And he's kind of mentioned that both him and Schopfe have said now they understand MLS and they're ready for what MLS will bring them next year. I'm not sure I fully agree with that.
I was going to say, there's people yelling at their phones as
Yes.
they hear that quote. Yeah, I've been a little disappointed in Alessandro Schopf because I expected more from having watched him play in the Bundesliga. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed that he hasn't done more, given them more, produced more, been more of a fighting, had more of a fighting spirit. But yeah, I have no sense whatsoever that either of those guys are going anywhere. I think they're very happy with having them in the mix and the roles they've played, and maybe their roles will be changed based on bringing in some new players. But I think that you won't see them go anywhere if they have a similar set of performances in 2024. Then yeah, I think you'll see Axel be a little more open to moving them on, or looking at possibilities for them that wouldn't see them being paid so much for contributing, let's say, so little. Or
he did say, paraphrasing a little bit, that you shouldn't take the salaries into account. It's like they will contribute. And if you think about it, there is Champions Cup, which hopefully there'll be a deep run. There's this MLS. There's the Canadian Championship. There's Leagues Cup. Depending what happens with the Canadian players, this is one thing I want to speak to Vanni and Axel about as well. I was going to ask it this week when we had the chat, but I thought I'll save it for our own chat with them. Mm-hmm. It's great bringing in these Canadian players, and we've got 4, which we're going to talk about in parts 3 and 4, going off to play for Canada against Jamaica. If they do that during Copa America and MLS isn't shutting down, you are just losing 4 starters. Yeah. So you need quality depth players like Laborda, like Schopf to be able to come in and fill gaps, because Javane Brown could still be going as well, because even if Jamaica lose to Canada, they've still got another way that they can qualify. So you've got to take all these things and factor it into account as well. So if they can make it work salary-wise, I guess, why should I care? Why should I get worked up about it? Because it's not my money at the end of the day.
Yeah, but people will get worked up about it because they feel like the team they care about is not playing the role in terms of being the best stewards of the money they have.
And
the money they've been given.
We'll talk about who needs to come in and what money might need to get spent there in future episodes. The 3 players that they're also still talking to, Sebastian Berhalter, I hope he's back. I think he showed enough this year to show that he is a very good depth player to come in. If Kubis is out, because Kubis, of course, could be away at Copa America as well, because everyone could be away at Copa America and we've not got a team.
Are you going to Copa America?
I very much hope to be going to Copa America, yes.
Nice.
Depends on if I'm going to do League One commentary next year or not. I'm still kind of... Yeah, that's for another day. We'll have that discussion. But like Berhalter, I'd bring him back. I think they'll be interested in him, though, so it could be who comes up with a good salary for him.
Yeah, I think most people have come to a place where they really appreciate Sebastian Berhalter and what he can bring and the role he can play. I would say that if he doesn't come back, it is an opportunity to upgrade at that position on the whole. But I think they're looking to do that anyways, whether or not he does come back. Yeah.
The two of the 4 Canadians, the 2 that aren't in contract, Junior Hoylett, Richie Larea, I'd let Hoylett go. I know what he can do, and I know the Junior Hoylett that we saw in a Whitecaps jersey is not... it's not a good version of the Junior Hoylett, and he hasn't lost it. He's just not fit. Give him the pre-season to see if he can show it in there, but at the same time, he's going to want a contract, and then January is when the English transfer window is going to open back up if he wants to make a move over there. I think it would be a gamble for him to hang about here, and he'll get more money over there. So I think we should move on from Hoylett.
How much, I think we talked about this maybe once before, but how much do you think aside from fitness, as you mentioned, how much do you think the field turf was an issue for a player like him?
It's hard to say. I had hoped to speak to Junior, but things just didn't work out. We didn't get that interview done, and that was something I was going to ask if it was a bit strange for him playing on that. But I think his future is going to be back over in the UK. Richie Larea is the big one. And I hope he's back. I hope they can get it for a decent non-DP salary. He's very open, but we had our chat with him. Alex had a chat with him as well for One Soccer, where he's like, it's not just my decision. It's how settled my family feel here as well. And you've always got to take that into account.
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life. Last 2 things we'll talk about in regards for this. The 2 players that's out on loan. So midfielder Caio Alexandre remains on loan to Brazilian Serie A side Fortaleza.
So,
well, I've got a bit of an update on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, hasn't he triggered, or haven't they indicated?
Reports in Brazil were that that there was a transfer option that if he met certain thresholds, the Brazilian club had to sign him. So Brazilian media reported that they've been hit, so they're signing him. Axel said, basically, yes, it's going to be a transfer, but still until the end of December, because their season's on and that's when the loan is. He's officially on loan, but basically from January it will be a transfer. So Kayo is not coming back.
And will we hear the sum of that transfer?
Oh, that I don't know. We can ask Axel that.
Like, it would just be interesting to see
It
how much
would
is
be.
compared to what they paid for him. Did they make him a little money? Did they lose a little bit of money? Like, yeah, how was his value affected? I mean, obviously we can look at transfer mark, but
Well, yeah, they'll just make it up in that, as they do with so many of the other figures, I'm pretty sure. But the other one is Diber Caicedo, who's on loan to Colombian side Categoria. No, sorry, Categoria is the Colombian league. He's on loan to Colombian side Junior FC. I don't think that's got anything to do with Hoylett, unless he's got his own team. And it's,
I was
it's a
gonna
bit
say,
egotistical naming it after yourself.
are they the feeder team for Senior FC?
Very good. So he's on loan till the end of July anyway, and he's doing well there, and it's too early to say, but I don't think we'll see Daber coming back either. So basically, there's 19 first-team players under contract for 2024, 3 goalkeepers, Max Anker being the other one, and they're very high on Max as well, which is probably another reason that Thomas Sal went. Or the good Max, I believe we can refer to him now.
Wait, what?
Max Anker of the two goalkeepers. He's the good Max. We've got seven.
So there's just to clarify. So there's the good Max and there's the great Max.
The bad Max. Max Crepeau, basically the beta Max. You thought he was going to be the next big thing, but nah, we're over him now. There's 7 defenders on the books, 6 midfielders, and just the 3 forwards: Betcher, Johnson, and White. So over the coming episodes, we'll look back at the Whitecaps season that was, the main takeaways from it, and what needs to happen next. We'll hear from Vanni, we'll hear from Axel, we'll hear from Ryan Gauld, we'll hear from Brian White as well on all those things. That's for a future show, probably next week's one, to be honest. But we are going to continue our Whitecaps chat in the next part as we look at the continuing fallout from the Timothy Ford saga. And we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Vanni Sartini, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Hope everything is all right. Hope everything is all right. What's that floating in the water? Oh, Neptune's only daughter. I believe in Mr. Greaves, that tall man in the middle, one that talks like Doolittle. I believe in Mr. Greaves. Do you have another opinion? Do you have another opinion? La 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 la, la 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 la.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, I've had this song in my head for the whole week. Just had to play it on the show. It's from the Pixies' second album, Doolittle, from 1989. The song is Mr. Greaves. Can't think why I've had this in my head, although I've put the lyrics here for Zach to have a read off, which I won't read the lyrics out, but if you read through the lyrics, you'll know exactly why I've had that in my head.
No. Oh, Michael.
And I will read the penultimate line, pray for a man in the middle. It's just like made for referees.
Yeah, I don't think that's the reason why you chose that song.
No, and it's possibly not. But in this part, and then we're going to
Michael.
draw a line under it for
Man.
until the punishment comes down. The Tim Ford saga has dragged on this week with Vanni's off-the-record comments that went public. And I know the Whitecaps and Vanni and Axel, and especially the communication staff, would really like to draw a line under it and move on. And as I said, we will.
Some people are not letting.
Yes. And I just... There's a couple of things I want to talk about that's happened this week, and we're going to play some audio as well from Vanni and Axel just talking about the situation and other things as well, and then we will move on from it until MLS hand out their punishment. I've spent all week, Zach, trying to work out what Tim Ford's middle name was, and I haven't been able to find it. Maybe he doesn't have one. I was hoping it was going to be Robert, and all his friends call him Bob.
Oh my God. Oh, Mike. I didn't understand that when
I tried did my little Vanni-esque mime. Oh no, let's see if somebody leaks this video to the Twitter sphere.
There's no video. Oh, there, I guess.
Oh, there is. I'm staring at you right now.
No, but I mean, we don't really release this as a video, and you're the only one who has it.
No, interestingly though, Global did play the video on Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, I did hear that.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway.
Was that helpful?
I think it was, to be honest, because it put context to it. So I was all for them doing that. I think it was fair. We've got the audio. We've had it since last week. I'm not playing it on the show.
Yeah. I do appreciate
it. Might make our quote of the year winner, though.
I do appreciate you letting me listen to it, though. That was helpful.
It was for context more than anything, yeah. But I mean, the whole furore around, I mean, not just Vanni's off-the-record comments, but his on-the-record comments, his on-pitch and off-pitch antics have brought a lot of chatter. There was the players' reaction as well. There was the stuff that happened in the stands, which we all talked about last week. So Vanni and Axel spoke about it on Tuesday to kick off the end-of-season presser. So before we get into the fallout and chat a little bit about that, here's what they had to say, just not about Vanni's comments and reactions, but all the stuff combined. Here's the gaffers.
So as you guys know, Sunday was a very pretty heated night. So yeah, there was my sending off, and then the press conference with some reaction on some tweets on the press conference, and just wanna clarify, state that the bad choice of word that I made was to play some self-irony on myself and on the behavior that I had on the pitch when I got sent off, when I got my that attempt that I had in order to play ironically and to remark to myself that I don't have to do these kind of things brought me to made bad choices in the word that I chose to play that to say that thing, and for that reason I'm sorry. I should have done a better judgment to choose the right word, and but there was no malicious intent or violent intent in my word. There was just a thing that I do every time, that is make fun of me when I'm not doing things properly, and that's the reason why I want to say again that I could have done much better, and I did a mistake, and I'm sorry for that.
Yes, and from my side, I want to ask for your understanding that this is an ongoing review, that the club has provided the league yesterday additional content about what really happened, how it happened, in what context, and what was really said. So we will wait for that. I also want to say that because I got asked that this morning, for me it's very important to say, look, I have been in the stands and I saw what was happening all there, and there have been a lot of things that I haven't liked, a lot of things that we really have to review also internally, not only the league, where we have to speak with everyone about how we can do better. There are things there that is part of the whole review of the season. There are things that we can do better, but the very important thing for me is we have a young team of players, and some of them have not acted really great in the last minutes of the game. And we have a very young team of staff, and also they have not all acted in the right way. And so we allow mistakes. We allow mistakes to happen. And the most important thing for me is that we learn from these mistakes, that we find ways to make better and to do better the next time, and that we also find a good way to deal with that and how to react to that. And with what Vanni has just said, and also how we cooperate with the league, and I can tell you that Vanni also has reached out to the pros. I think this is the right way to deal with that, to handle such a situation. And I don't think it's right at this point, and don't get me wrong, we are open to speak about all of the details at a later point, but I don't think it's the right thing at this point to speak about every detail. Because let's first let the league do their job, and also our job. We are speaking with all players this week. We have all the individual meetings, and let us speak with everyone about it and address it in the right way. And then I'm very happy. There are still a lot of months in this year, and you have still to fill a lot of content later this year. Let's speak about all the details, and then I'm super happy to speak very openly about individual things, and also how I have addressed things and how we will continue in future that doesn't happen again.
Two-part question. The one thing I think we in the media respect about you, your supporters respect about you, is you wear your heart on your sleeve. Your heart was beating very, very heavily on Sunday with the way that match played out.
Yeah.
I hope you don't change who you are, because that's what we respect, but how much do you have to maybe, are you going to rein it in a little bit? And when you look back at it, what bothered you about your outburst?
As Axel said, but as we said every time, that's every moment is a learning moment. You need to learn, and you need to be better in the future, and it's not only about the quote but even the fact that you're right. I was very angry in the game when it happened, and even if I thought that we were basically having an injustice, I didn't my team any favor to get sent off. So, and because even though the game was almost over, it was like 1 minute, but that will carry automatically a suspension next year and everything. So, we need to work always on ourselves to again, being emotional and being in the moment. It doesn't mean losing your head. Unfortunately, I'm very proud by the fact that I played 100 games, like 99 games, as a head coach of the Whitecaps, and for the first 98, I never got a red card. So that's a good statistic, I would say. But I hope that to beat this record, to go to 200 without a red card from now on.
Second part of the question, and I think there's two issues at play here. One was, and that's what we're curious how the suspension is going to play out, the outburst on the field, and then the comments in the press conference. I'm a little bit confused because, and I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but I know sometimes you'll say stuff to us before a camera's rolling or before we start an interview. Was that meant for public consumption, what you said, or was that just you being you in a different setting?
I would say that it's always me being me, even if I'm under the camera, I'm in front of the camera. So I cannot, I don't know even use the word, I don't know which word use, blame someone to just, I would say, take the words of someone and put it back to, it's, of course, I think the more context you have, the better it is. And the platform that allows you only 240 characters, or I don't know, it's not the best platform to give you context, and that's an opinion. It's not what's at stake here. I think I don't want to hide behind the finger and say no, it was before the press conference or after the press conference. When it's like our player on the field, if someone make a mistake, you need to own it and try to do better the next time.
One thing to Axel, just you talked about internal stuff, is one of the things you're going to look at where maybe opposition players or the referee leave the field, because I think it would have made sense on Sunday for the referees to leave at the middle of the pitch as opposed to Going past all the rabid fans. Is that one of the things that you're looking for?
Yes, if I say we want to review the whole thing and we want to look at all, as I said, I have seen a lot of things that I didn't like. I'm very happy to speak about every detail after we have addressed it the right way, and we maybe also can present the solutions for that. And yes, as much as I like the support of our supporters, and it's absolutely okay during a game to also like putting pressure on opponent and referees to help us. We have to stay within certain behavioral rules, and also after the kickoff, that wasn't a great picture for the club, how the referee had to leave the pitch, and we will also think about how to do better there to avoid that it even comes to that.
He's the gaffer. You can try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
So the gaffers there, Vanni Sartini, Axel Schuster, chatting about the whole furore around Tim Ford, Vanni's antics on the pitch, Vanni's antics off the pitch, and the press conference, his comments, the players, the fans, everything like that. And you watched the press conference, Zach, and we messaged a little bit during it. You were on the press conference as well.
It was good times.
Vanni was apologetic, primarily for his choice of words, saying that there was no violent intent. It was self-irony on himself after his sending off, and that it was his bad choice of words. He likes to make fun of himself when he's not doing things properly. Axel says the Whitecaps are a club that allows mistakes and growth from it. I thought it was a good apology. Many thought it was a good apology. Others did not.
Here's the thing. I think it was a fine apology. Like, it was okay. And so... yeah, I look forward to the end of this, like some kind of resolution with the league speaking. But if you wanna, there's a few things I guess I would say. One is, it felt like I believe Axel, and I think Axel's words were very important about we know mistakes are going to happen, but we're a group that learns from them. And I say that without bringing up the past stuff, because people could just bring up the past stuff and say, well, look, you made some mistakes and you should have learn some bigger things and maybe you haven't, and so I haven't forgiven you and blah blah. No, I believe Axel when he said that. I believe in Vanni. I just felt with Vanni like there was no remorse for what he said or what no remorse for what he said, but more so for the way it can be perceived. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's like me. He doesn't understand how it was perceived the way it was perceived. Like, so I get it was good that he said, I had no violent intent. That was helpful. It would have been, I think, a little bit more helpful if he said, look, I meant no violent harm to come to the referee. And I realized that for some people that has created a huge issue. Like, I understand how this might make referees feel, and or people who want to be referees or young referees, or I understand that either from what I've experienced or what people have told me, that referees face abuse all around, the lower mainland at pitches all the time, and I had no way meant to make things worse for them. I think he needed to say something like that. And again, what he said is fine. I don't think he failed to whatever. I just think I think he missed an opportunity to address the actual issue that people were frustrated about. You know what I mean? Like, he sort of apologized for choosing words that were taken in a negative way, but he didn't really address the issue that they brought light to, is what I guess what I'm saying. And also, I know you were in the room, so you sent me that one picture too. He sort of he felt like he was, getting a slap on the wrist, and he was like, I got to sit through this. He was
man-spreading as well,
which was awkward. But I didn't like how it was, because at first I didn't quite get, from the press release and whatever, I didn't quite get that. I thought, oh, they're just coming, we're going to talk about this. I didn't get they were like packaging it with, hey, we're going to talk about the season, even though they were like, hey, we can't talk about most of the season. We're just going to add this in to make this not just about the one thing. I didn't really love that. I understand why they did it. I don't think it was a horrible decision. I just didn't think it was maybe the best decision.
Well, originally, the end of season, I don't think was planned for this past week. I think they were going to give the players a week off. But at the same time, it's like, look, just get it done and dusted. We can address this at the same time. I can't remember who it was on Twitter that I was having this discussion with, but he made a very good point of, because the apologies come at a press conference, it feels scripted. And that Vanni should maybe have issued something on his own Instagram, or so it comes across as his own volition. But at the same time, or that he should still do that. But I don't think he can now, because no matter what he does, folks are going to think it's been scripted.
No, but that's I said the opposite to you, didn't I? In our text messaging, because he didn't read from a script, and I thought maybe he should have, because he was very just Vanni, like, oh hey, like, you know, and he was like, it was very conversational, like the incident itself. He was just talking to the people in the room and the people watching on Zoom, you know, kind of thing.
Because that's Vanni. That's just his personality.
Totally. I think it might have been better to have read something from a script. So I think whoever made that comment either didn't watch or didn't listen or didn't see the context, because he was very much not reading from anything. He was just...
I think it's just because it was a press conference. It's like, well, the Whitecaps have made him come and apologise, that some folk took for that. But
that's a fair, I think, on some level, a fair criticism.
Yeah. But there's no, I like, no matter what happened, folk would have probably.
You would have had some people.
Well.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, what you like, referees, they get an abuse everywhere at the moment. They're struggling to find referees. Some of the abuse of referees at VMSL games has been terrible.
Yeah,
and I've tried to stop shouting at them, but
I wish he would have addressed that.
Yeah,
because I think he could have. I think you would have much less people frustrated or still angry or still want blood or whatever if he had said, "Look, I realize refereeing is a difficult job, and there's serious issues around how people treat referees from the grassroots to the professional level. And I did not mean to add to that. I meant no malice, no ill intent, no violence at all. I was making a joke about myself, and the rest of the stuff he said was fine from there. I just think there was an opportunity he missed to kind of address the bigger subject, which I think for some people was the bigger thing, not that, whatever.
And you've always got to remember as well, when you are criticising referees, it's a difficult job. They're not allowed to bring their guide dogs on the pitch, for starters. So, I mean, getting around, getting out of the way. I think if Tim Ford had his guide dog on, the guide dog would have been like, no, there's a player there. Don't bowl him over and push him over with both hands. That kind of stuff.
No, Michael.
But do you know...
That's more appropriate referee humor, no?
Yeah, well, if you want... I'm not doing this, but I haven't told you I was thinking about doing this. Let's just get your gauge. I was going to do a flash 5 of other reasons why Tim Ford could have been found floating in False Creek that wasn't to do with Vanni.
Oh, no.
Such as he was at Granville Island, eating his chips, a seagull tries to take it, he's fighting it off, loses his balance, falls in, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good thing you did.
Yeah, good job I didn't do that. I was also going to have He's an Angry Bastard section about the fallout. Although, when we have Vanni now and we play the gaffer, maybe I should just play He's an Angry Bastard and he likes it as his introductory song. Because I think he does need to rein it in a little bit. And I would say, if I was a manager, I would be getting suspended. I would lose my shit on the sideline. I would be doing that. Vanni said we all need to work on ourselves, and I think he does.
That was great. Yeah. That was great.
I think he does need to rein it in and try and rein his anger in, but he's a passionate Italian guy, and it comes out. The full outrage, though, from people that are basing everything off the one tweet and still haven't heard the context or haven't heard it at all or anything.
Were you having dialogue on Twitter with some people that, Michael?
Just a little bit. There was one lady in particular that just triggered me, because Har had done a thing on CBC, and Har was excellent with what she said, but I didn't realise that it was part of a 1 hour thing where they had Har talking sensibly about it, and then the other 50 minutes was just like burying Vanni and talking about abuse and basically, oh, this is what's wrong in sport, and behaviour that you see in sport wouldn't be accepted in the greater world. And in part, I do feel certain things that happen in sport and events, if it happened in like Canadian Superstore or something, the police would be called. Yeah, folk are just getting outraged. It is calming down now, so that is good. There is an ongoing review. Axel said there's a lot of things that happened on and off the pitch that he didn't like. And I asked him about maybe referees should move off in the middle of the pitch, as we talked about last week. So they're going to review everything. They're going to do an internal review as well. The stuff getting thrown from the stands obviously wasn't good. Nothing yet has been said by Pro about it. Tim Ford wasn't part of any of the 3 MLS matches this past weekend. It might be just because there was only 3 matches. So we'll have to wait till the next round of games really to see if he's going to be involved in those.
Or is that because he's getting ready to receive some awards?
He's up for a couple of awards. I think, I don't want any spoilers here, but I think he has overtaken Josh Herd as AFTN's Villain of the Year.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow. That takes a lot.
Yeah.
Because Josh Herd ruined your life.
Yeah. There's also, I hear he's also up for the Bell End door.
Oh, Michael.
There's a few folk up for that.
Oh, my.
Maybe that's what we'll call our Villain of the Year instead, the Bell End door. I quite like that now.
Yeah, that could get you some miles or some clicks. Oh, my. Okay, the longer this goes on, sorry, my question for you is, do you think that they are the length, the more this goes on, the more it means his ban, because he's got a red card, he's got all these other things around it aside from the comments. Do you think it means his suspension is going to be longer, or do you think it's they're just like, hey, we're in the middle of the playoffs, this guy's out, we can deal with it later?
I would hope it's the latter. I think it could be the former. I mean, initially after it happened, the next day, the Professional Soccer Referees Association, that I'd never heard of before, issued a tweet saying, Vancouver head coach Vanni Sartini's post-game comments last night are disgusting and take their rhetoric against officials at all levels to dangerous levels. His comments go against every value in sports. It's our expectation MLS undertakes a rigorous disciplinary review here. Now, although I've never heard of them, and they are a smaller one of the associations, there is a danger that Pro could come out and say, we feel you've been really lenient on him. We're not happy with this. If you don't do something about it, we'll take industrial action unless you properly protect us.
Yeah.
That could be a far stretch, but I don't know. There's been a lot of chat about what punishment Vanni will get. He knows there's stuff coming. He knows it's going to be accumulative. I personally feel he's going to get 4 to 6 matches. There is a Canada Soccer disciplinary code that if a player or a manager does a lot of the things that Vanni basically did, it's a 6-game ban. Now, obviously, MLS don't go under that code, but that's a 6-game ban. The other thing I've been wondering is, well, could we see a punishment where it's not that he's just not in the dugout for these games? Is he suspended from all team activity for maybe 2 months, 3 months, something like that?
Yeah, which would be more difficult for the Whitecaps, right?
Well, yeah, because also would it be all team activity for MLS, but he could still then be around the team for Champions Cup.
Yeah. That's tricky, right? I don't like some leagues. I know do this. I know MLS has done certain things. I think in England maybe they've done this. To me, when you get as a player, when you get suspended, it's for that competition. I've seen before in England, it's like, oh, he got a red card, but now he can't play in the cup. It's like in the league, he got the card, and then he can't. I can't remember where I've seen this, but I've seen this before. But when there's something like this that's like bigger than what happened on the field, because it's not just his red card, it's what he did after that. and then the comment, I could see them doing something bigger, but yeah. I wonder how much what he said this last week will impact what they said. Or sorry, impact what they do.
Well, he reached out to Pro, and at the time of the conference on Tuesday, they hadn't got back to him, which I think is understandable.
Yeah. Har asked him, have you talked to Tim Ford? He's like, well, I've reached out to his organization first, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be fines and punishments coming down to the players and the club as well for mass confrontation. The Sun newspaper in the UK, and never a good bastion, and don't read the Sun, all that kind of stuff. Their headline for the mass confrontation was about how the players had manhandled the referee more than Vanni's stuff. And they said, shocking pictures as players manhandle the referee. Because Sam, I think, does put his hands on Ford and chases him as well at the final whistle. So he might be in for something.
I think he was just stretching his legs.
Yeah.
But no, okay. So another question for you. And then we talked about this maybe off air last time. But like, so there are boundaries, right? Like we talked about what are the boundaries of what you can say or not say. You know, you pay your money, but there's all these stipulations about fan code of conduct and whatever. So there are things like, I know you and I have talked about things we've said in stadiums over the years to referees, right? Like you talked about questioning their parentage. Like you've alluded to earlier, I've talked about, questioning their eyesight. But there is one chant that I know both of us have participated in, and I have in the CPL of this last year, that is kind of, I guess maybe in this, not in the same realm, but is touched on this, is the Bob Marley chant, right? Is the I shot the sheriff,
yes, but
I should have shot the referee.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for you, and you can think about it, or we can talk about another time, but my question for our listeners is does that cross the line? Because I've sung that lots, and I've never felt it cross the line before, because again, the tone of it is in jest. It's not, no one's going to shoot the referee after the game. But in light of this, I've been thinking, is that something I don't want to sing anymore? Because
it's a very good point, especially in this day and age where there's, like, every day in America there's a mass shooting.
Yeah.
And just I mean, after we had that chat last week, I genuinely did think about that.
Yeah.
And you've got the fun ones. I'm blind, I'm deaf, I want to be a ref. And
that's a good
Who's
one.
the bastard in the black? I mean, they've all existed for ages. But yeah, the I shot the sheriff one, I think it probably does cross the line. And that's even me saying that.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that crosses the line.
No,
seriously, if you're listening to this, let us know on Twitter, or let us, send us a message or whatever, because it's something there's things I don't sing in the stadium because I'm not comfortable singing them. And it doesn't matter what stadium I'm in. There's certain things I just won't join in.
Well, you wouldn't let Vicente Arce shag your wife, so.
That's true. Yeah, you know that. Yeah. So, but that song I've always felt comfortable singing because again, because of context and tone and whatever. But I also am open-minded enough to say, maybe that's something I shouldn't be participating in, and or shouldn't be leading people to join in, as the case has been in the past as well. So, anyways, let us know your thoughts.
It would be interesting. I'll tell you about a chant after we do this part as well. That it
like
just
on the part of the show or off the show?
No. It's just that it's had after effects now because of something that might happen. It goes back
now.
To
now you're going to get lots of messages, Michael, saying, "I want to know what it was."
I will not be telling them.
Yeah,
but it was different times. It was back in Scotland.
Wait, did it involve any of your childhood like TV people?
No. It just involved an opposition player.
Oh, okay.
Who folk are now pushing? He could be the new East Fife manager. And it's like, do you not remember what we used to chant about him?
You told me about this before. I can't remember the exact
He's going to definitely want to come back to us now.
You did all you could to endear yourself to him.
Yes. But anyway, it's a shame basically that this is all overshadowed what was a good Whitecaps season and the end of it and how everything came about. Next week, We'll hear some thoughts and have more discussions about the season that was. We'll look forward. We'll hear a little bit from a number of people as we talked about it as well. For the next two parts of this show, though, we are going to hear from two of the Whitecaps Canadians, Sam Adekugbe and Ali Ahmed, as they turn their attention to go to represent their country in a very important doubleheader against Jamaica of their own accord in Nations League action. And we'll be turning our attention to the international stage after this.
Hey, I am Axel Schuster, and I'm listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Children off the smack and into something friendlier, into something healthier, like spending 50 minutes with a prostitute, only 50 minutes in the Institute of Prostitute. Raise children on smack.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's one of our two Artists of the Month here at AFTN for the month of November from Glasgow, Scotland, the legendary Yummy Fur, with a song taken from their 1997 second album, Kinky Cinema. It's the 15th track of 60 on the album. And it's not an official studio album. It's basically covering the first 5 years of the band, featuring a lot of songs that wasn't on their debut album from the previous year. That was British Children on Smack. And a lot of the songs on Kinky Cinema featured on their debut 10-track, 7-inch single, music by Walt Disney, but played by Yuri Gagarin, thus a political record. And their album Kinky Cinema, 60 tracks, and it comes in at a running time of just under an hour. What more could you want for people that's got a short attention span, I guess? But that's the Yummy Fur. We've got more to come from them this month. And in the next part, we'll have a song from our second Artist of the Month for AFTN for November. But for now, we're going to get back to the football chat, and we're going to turn our attention now to the international stage, because it's a huge couple of games coming up for the Canadian men's national team. They're taking on Jamaica of their own accord in a two-legged Nations League quarter-final matchup. The first game goes in Jamaica this coming Friday, with a return in Toronto days later next Tuesday. Interim head coach Mauro Biello announced his 23-man squad for the two matches this past week. 4 Vancouver Whitecaps in the current Canadian squad: Ali Ahmed, Sam Adekugbe, Junior Hoylett and Richie Larea. Of course, the latter two may not be Whitecaps come 2024, but as of now, they are Whitecaps. And the Caps are the only club to have multiple players in that Canadian squad. All the other teams that are represented just have one player from their teams making up the Canada lineup. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the makeup of this squad. Some big name players coming back into it. Not a lot of fresh new faces. Kind of understandable, really, for a big game that's coming up with this, with so much on the line. For anyone that isn't aware, if Canada get through this quarter-final matchup, they will book a berth at next year's Copa America. that's getting played in the US, and that is a fantastic opportunity for the players, for the squad, for the team to get some real competitive games and good build-up ahead of the 2026 World Cup. There was also some disappointment from some quarters that a lot of the old guard were back. The brotherhood was still together. Not a lot of changes. We'll get into that after we hear from head coach Mauro Biello, just answering a couple of questions. One from Neil Davison, one from Zach, just about the makeup of this 23-man squad for these two games. Here's Mauro Biello.
Given the importance of the game, this series coming up, one assumes you went for the best quality you have available. This wasn't the time to test out new faces. Did you get everybody you wanted for this roster? And where do you place the importance of this series in the scheme of things?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the importance of this series. Obviously, there's great benefits to doing well in this window, and for us, there's the finals of Nations League and the Copa America qualification. So it's a very big window, and yes, I was able to select the players that I wanted. I went with a group that's been in these moments before, a group of players that have a strong brotherhood, that have gone through a lot, and have been able to react in pressure moments. So for me, that was very important in the selection. And obviously, there's some players rejoining. Eustáquio and Buchanan coming back into the group, two players that we missed the last time around, which would be a big help also.
By my count, there's 5 players who have been recalled into this national team, including Marc-Anthony Kaye, whose previous appearance was 8 months ago. He's sort of missed out the last couple of windows. Just wanted to get your sort of take on Mark and what you've seen from him the last little while in terms of him, what led to him sort of getting him back in your thoughts and earning that recall.
Yeah, I think, Mark obviously has had that experience with the national team. He's gone to a World Cup. He's been through the qualifying. And I think there was a resurgence when he left Toronto, and speaking to some of the staff there in New England, they were really happy with the way he's been performing, and watched all his games and what he's brought, and I think it was very positive, and I think Mark has that experience. When I look back at the game in Jamaica, he was part of that, so he knows the conditions there. He knows what it takes to perform there. And his performance at New England, he's still playing, he's still training. They're in the playoffs at the moment, so he's still in rhythm. So I think when I add up all these things along with his experience and what he could bring to the group, I thought it was important to bring him back in for this game.
You've kept with the brotherhood. You brought them back together. How do you balance that with also the long term? Like, obviously you're trying to qualify for Copa, but you're also building towards 2026. And I know there's a lot of unknowns and all that, but how do you balance that tension?
So there is a balancing situation here going on, and a transition situation, and I think transitions are done gradually, and you can't just cut a player and say, oh, okay, this guy is old and this guy's young, and now I'll just make the change. In this world, you have to gradually do that, where the young player you increase those opportunities and decrease some of the opportunities of the older player. But in that space, the young player needs to prove and show that he is better and ready to take on that role of that next player. So I think it's a process that there's players that we've seen at the Gold Cup. There's players that we've seen in Japan. There's players that are coming in now. And they're all part of that 2026 cycle, and there's players that you see now that you may not see, and you may not see down the road in 2026. So But I think it's important that as a coach, you need to understand that process. There's certain players that have given a lot to this country, that have come in every single camp, that have done the utmost to help this team qualify and to be where they're at today. So for me, it's important, to balance things out. But at the same time, I have my eye on qualifying here, which is the most important thing. And, we talked about that brotherhood. Yeah, that brotherhood helped us get through qualifying. That brotherhood was at the core of our success. And I think this is what's important, is bringing that brotherhood to the forefront here in these two games, to allow us to beat Jamaica. But at the same time, there's elements of 2026 that I need to be on top of, and that I need to make sure that during this process, there's certain opportunities that are given along the way, so that now in 2 years or 3 years from now, that transition is complete and players are ready to now perform for 2026.
Interim Canadian men's national team head coach Mauro Biello there, just chatting about his squad selection for these two big games against Jamaica that is coming up. We talked a little bit there and before it about it's quite an older squad that he's brought in, which isn't unexpected, Zach. You asked the question about the brotherhood as well and trying to integrate it. Is the brotherhood still there with John Herdman moving on? I have seen a lot of people complain, though, just that there's some of the old guard that they felt was maybe time for them to move on. Is this the time for them to move on, or do they still need to rely on the Borjans and the Marc-Anthony Kays and Samuel Pietts for a big doubleheader like this?
But that's what he talked about. He talked about the tension between getting ready for Copa, but also looking down the road to the World Cup, the home World Cup.
Yeah, it was a good answer.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's always going to be living in that tension for as long as he's in the interim job. And, for his sake, ideally the main job, right? So I think I don't mind what he's doing. I know some people are frustrated or annoyed, or I know some people, I've read comments like, oh, it's his death knell, or he's signing his own, pink slip or whatever, by just kind of carrying on with where things were at, squad wise and stuff. But
one of the things I saw
makes total sense.
Yeah, like folk were like, oh, we're wanting to see, will he stamp his identity on the team? And basically, no, he hasn't yet.
Well, he has, in the sense that it is, he's carrying on. He's carrying on with where things were. I mean, he's bringing in players that got them to the World Cup, that got them to the top of CONCACAF, as I told people over and over again in Doha.
But because it's like, do you want to bring in young guys for such big games with so much on the line that if you don't end up at Copa, your whole planning for 2026 is severely disrupted? Yeah. And I mean, that's basically what it boils down to.
Well, yeah, I mean, the qualification for the Copa is, with not being able to play every match in every window is incredibly significant, right? Like this, playing those types of competitive matches that you're in no matter what, and will in theory make money off of, are so incredibly important to the players, to the coaches, to the CSA.
Well, we're going to hear from Sam in a little bit, and Sam, just to kind of preempt what he says, we talk about the fact they didn't have that window in September, and he feels that had a knock-on effect to how they played down in Japan. But Biello named 10 MLS players to his roster. Vancouver Whitecaps lead the way with the 4 call-ups, followed by TFC, LAFC, Minnesota, Montreal, Miami, New England. They've all got 1 player each. And
there's also 4 former Caps in the side as well.
Yes, which always goes back to what the Whitecaps have said. They'd love half, at least, of the 2026 squad to have come through the Whitecaps at some point. I think that's a realistic target to go for, and also a good, heartwarming target to kind of go for. But you've got this issue, and we'll hear from Mauro talking about this as well. Just now, you've got MLS players that have finished their season and haven't been playing. So some of them haven't got called up to this squad. But you've got players that's right in the middle of the playoffs, so they're in form as well. But the Nations League final is going to be in March, before a lot of these players are back fully playing. Now you have the Whitecaps guys in Champions Cup, but the majority of them won't be. So it's like, again, you're balancing, do we have MLS guys in the squad? Do we just look at Europe? And there's so many balancing acts for Biello right now.
Yeah, I think he's always going to take the approach of, I need to have he'll be saying to himself, I need to have the best players possible, right? Like, yeah, in that,
But you want them in form though as well.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's a combination of form and quality, right? And so, I mean, he's got to be hoping come March, like, I don't know, Jonathan David actually hits form. Kyle Aaron's playing better.
Yeah.
Like there's some massive players that are not playing well right now. Like, and Jonathan David is, I'm not worried for him. Like on the bigger scale, I just feel bad for him in this moment that he's
in a rut. Loads of strikers have it.
The rut he's in. That's a good way to put it.
I'll play a little bit more audio from Biello just now, just talking about exactly what we've just talked about there, and like having players in form at the right time, what you do in the next windows. And I also asked him as well about, we've seen Sam Adekugbe, Richie Larea come back to the Whitecaps, or come back to MLS. Richie here for the first time, and is that maybe going to be a sign? Are we going to see more folk coming up for 2026 heading back to this side of the pond? Here's some more from Mauro.
This maybe feels a little bit more pronounced since Sam and Junior came back to Vancouver, but almost half of the squad, well, 9 of 23 are about to be finished for the guts of 3.5-4 months, with MLS not due back until late February, early March. We've heard a lot from John Herdman in the last couple of years about the importance of guys playing tier 1 leagues and playing in Europe. He spoke about it. Is it a bit of a worry for you potentially? If the Jamaica playoff goes well, you're looking at a Nations League final in March, and half of the squad might get 1 or 2 competitive club games between now and then. Where do you fall down on that?
Yeah, I think, look, it's, I just spoke about it in French, and it's so important that at these levels to have players that are in rhythm. And, you don't just, when you don't play for 5 or 6 weeks, or it's not easy to just turn on the switch in these types of games. So it is important that you in the selection process, that there's players that are in rhythm, that are still playing. And yes, there could be 1 or 2, but you can't have too many of those players in your roster. And this is what we've experienced over the years. And I remember, we lost to the USA in the Nations League 4-1 in November, and that was a big talking point. We had a lot of players out of playoffs and not playing, and didn't come in sharp in that period, and we ended up dropping that game. So for sure, you need those players playing week in, week out, and competing at those levels. And the schedule falls a little bit in that way with the MLS, the season of the MLS that runs from March to October, and then has those down periods. So for us to make up for that, there's been January camps in the past where we've been able to work with a lot of the MLS players that are out of season, and that gives them also an opportunity to continue to maintain a certain form as they go into preseason. But it's definitely something, that if you want to compete at the highest levels, you need to be playing at those levels. And I think a lot of our players are doing well, are competing in Europe, and there's been a lot more players that have gone across that are playing in these types of championships that allows them to play a full year and not have the long breaks that that MLS has. But yeah, I think in the end, it's something that we've been dealing with over the last few years, and there's good players in the MLS that we need and that are a very important part of this team. So we find other ways to get those players ready, and sometimes it's those January camps, and hopefully you're able to keep them informed and to be ready for March.
Yeah, you touched a little bit on the MLS players. With 4 Whitecaps being in this squad, they've had that chemistry to kind of get something going. What have you made of their playing style in Vancouver? And kind of a follow-up to that, in the past, John's kind of almost said that players needed to maybe veer away from MLS, playing the top leagues. Do you see this as maybe a start of players starting to come back home ahead of 2026?
Well, it's tough to say if players will come back home, but I think the MLS it's a solid league. There's players that have started there and have moved on to Europe, and there's players that have played in Europe and have come back, so look, I think when we speak about tiers and levels, it's normal that as a coach you want players playing at the highest levels, and there's a difference between Premiership and MLS, right? And with all due respect, but and I think even for a player, a player that has ambition and wants to go on to Europe and play in those leagues and at those levels, and for sure they're gonna strive for that. They're gonna push for that, and I think the players in MLS, and you touched on it a little bit, and if I think back, TFC and when they were doing well, or Montreal when they were doing well, there was chemistry in those teams, and you think of Montreal and Alistair Johnson, Kamal playing together every day, and you think of back in the day when Ozo and Larea were together and they were just dominating a side, and now you see that with Vancouver. So that's also very important when you have a group of players that are playing together day in, day out, because at the national team you don't get to work with the players. They're developing, they're working at their clubs. When they come in, you have a day and a half of training, 2 days of training, and you try to piece it all together. But when you have numerous players playing at a club, I think that works well. And you used to see that back in the day, and even in Europe, when you would see the top clubs at Juventus, the back line would be playing together and they'd be on the national team together. And it's all about cohesion. It's all about seeing things together. And I think there's a lot of benefits with that.
So Mauro Biello there just talking about balancing that act and will the players come back? And his answer to my question about the MLS thing, he was picking his words carefully, because you don't want to do a disservice to MLS, because who knows, if Mauro Biello doesn't get the Canada job, could he be walking into the Montreal job that is now up for grabs? So you don't want to suddenly piss all over the league that you might be coming to work in.
Returning to the Montreal job.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got that aspect as well. And I think everyone would agree you're going to be playing at the top level over in Europe. But I do think we're going to see more players possibly coming back here. And it's going to be interesting to see how John Herdman approaches that in TFC, because he's going to want players that he knows, that he's worked with, to try and come in and fix that bomb scare that he's got there.
Sorry, did you just call what's happening at TFC a bomb scare?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my polite, non-swearing way of calling it.
He's definitely gonna. All coaches want to work with players that they know and that they know, not just in terms of what they can get from them on the field, but also they know them as people and what to expect from them as personalities and how they are a part of the team. And we know that that's extremely important to John Herdman, right? So no one will be surprised at all to see any number of players that he's worked with in the past come and be a part of what he's doing there. You see it already with his choices for the background staff the rest of the staff at the club. He's done that, right? Bringing in former women's player Robin Gale, right? So yeah, you'll consider to see that. Terry was involved with the national team, right? Terry's staying on, right? So yeah, it's gonna be the same on the playing side as well.
Of course, one of the players that has come back to MLS is Sam Adekugbe here in Vancouver. So we're going to bring you one of two interviews now that we did this past week with two of the Canadian caps. Starting off with Sam, it's the three-headed AFTN Cerberus, myself, Zach and Felipe, having a chat with Sam about primarily this game's coming up against Jamaica, but also a little look back on the Whitecaps season and his time here as well. Here's Sam Adekugbe. Hey Sam, just a Whitecaps one just to start with. You had about 3 months with the club. Obviously the season didn't end the way anyone wanted. The general feeling amongst the players that we've spoken to seems to be you felt you could have gone more. There was a lot more in this team to give, and you've got a bit of frustration, I guess, going into next year, which you can then use to build on. How do you look back at your first 3 months back at the club, both for you personally and for how the club did?
Yeah, well, I definitely do feel like we left ourselves short. We could have done a lot more. I think we had a competitive team, and the team was doing well before we came in the middle of the season. So, of course, it's disappointing. And from a personal perspective, it was hard for me to get fully fit. I was, coming into the club with a injury that obviously affected the way I played and how I was able to train, and so that was difficult and frustrating. But I'm optimistic for myself and for the team next year. We're hungry. We know what we need to do to be more successful. The club is still in a good position. We have a chance to win the Canadian Cup next year and make it 3 in a row. So there's a lot of positives to build on. But yeah, I definitely do feel that we left ourselves a little bit short.
Turning attention to Canada now, 2 huge games obviously coming up against Jamaica. Not having that September window, and then the game in Japan was really your only time to get together and get things going. What do you feel the group has learned from that Japan game, and did it feel a little bit kind of different under Mauro than it did back in John's days, or was it just kind of a continuation?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously different. They're 2 different people, of course, 2 different coaches. But the group is still the group, and we still have that brotherhood. We still have a connection amongst each other. And if anything, the Japan game was humbling. It shows that there's still work that needs to be done. We're still not where we need to be, and quite frankly, that we felt that in Japan. It's a good opposition. It's obviously a contrast in games compared to when we last played and when we won. So, of course, not having that previous camp to get together probably played a part in that. But, we still know we're a competitive team in CONCACAF, and we know that on our best day we can beat anyone. And we're all looking forward to Jamaica, and we're looking forward to, winning the games.
Obviously, these are 2 very tough games, and the chance to go to Copa, you've had that World Cup experience now, and I think from a Canadian perspective, with all respect to the Gold Cup, Copa is a big thing. It's almost like a mini World Cup with the players that are there, the teams that are there. What would that experience be like for you to get a chance to have a crack at those oppositions, especially with a view to 2026, where you're getting these early tests to work on some stuff?
Yeah, definitely. It's an important tournament for us, like you said, to get an early crack and test ourselves against some of the best teams in the world, and that's something we're looking at doing. That's why we understand the nature of these games coming up against Jamaica and how important they are. And quite frankly, we want to be playing against some of the best teams in the world, and to do that, we have to get a result in these next 2 games. So we're definitely looking forward to embracing the challenge. We know Jamaica's not going to be an easy game. We know they've improved their squad, and it's not easy traveling there and playing. So we know it's going to be a challenge, but, I back the national team. We've seen the fruits of our labor in the past, and we have that experience of, going through the qualifications, of getting to the World Cup and playing in important matches and going to places where it's difficult to get results, and we're getting results there. So, of course, it's going to be different under Mauro's leadership, but, we have our faith in our coach. We know he can take us where we need to get to, and it's just about the players, dialing in and focusing on getting past Jamaica.
I want to ask you about something that John said before when he was coach about wanting to have as many players in tier 1 leagues as possible. Now we have yourself, Richie, Junior, and even Ali in the Whitecaps in the MLS. Do you think that sort of emphasis is starting to change a bit now with the national team, in that it doesn't have to be, just players in Europe, and you guys can still have quality and compete with players being in the MLS?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I do understand the concept between John's want for having players in tier 1, but I think MLS is definitely a growing league, and the World Cup's around the corner, and the league will continue to improve. And I think obviously the media that's been around for the years, we've seen the rise of the league, and yeah, I mean, it's obviously where it's at, but I have no doubt in my mind that it will become a tier 1 league.
Speaking specifically about Ali, you've got to know him day in and day out for the last few months, since the Gold Cup. And how have you found his growth? What do you think his projection is going to be, specifically with the national team, as his career continues?
Yeah, I think Ali is obviously a very, very good player, and he's also a very good kid. He's very humble, he works hard, and he has so much quality. And I think people are just seeing the glimpse of it. I think there's still much more to come for him. I think he has something that a lot of players don't have. He has a lot of fearlessness, and I'm so happy he's going to be in the national team, and I hope he gets a chance to showcase himself like he did in the Gold Cup. And like I said, I think his future it's in his hands. I think he has so much quality. It's just about his drive and his determination.
Obviously, the focus is on the games against Jamaica, but looking ahead a bit, let's say that it goes well, those games. The one disadvantage that a lot of players in the MLS have to the players in Europe is that you guys are now in your off season, and with potentially a window in March, only having 1 or 2 games under your belt compared to players in Europe who have already been, in the midst of their season. How are you hoping to keep fit and keep sharp in this off season in case that you do have to put the shirt back on for Canada come March time?
Yeah, I think it's just about doing what you need to do. That's being in the gym. That's maybe coming back a little bit earlier in training. But there's players have been in this situation before. We had it with the qualification campaign, and we were able to get results in the March window. So it's obviously a tricky situation, but yeah, a lot of players will be able to handle it.
You talked about this a little bit, but what kind of confidence can you take from your experiences against Jamaica? Obviously, they're in better form than they were, but the last time you played, and obviously you have the away game first, but the last time you played Jamaica at BMO was like an historic occasion. What can you take personally as a player and as a squad can take from the confidence you've had in recent results against them?
Yeah, of course. Last time we played them, we enjoyed the game, and we enjoyed the moments after the game. So we have a lot of confidence heading into the game, but that's just the confidence we have on ourselves. People forget that Canada is still a good team. Yeah, it's been a bit bumpy with obviously the off the field situation, but we still have good players and a very competitive team, and I think we'll show that again in these next 2 games. And yeah, we still have that confidence. We still believe in ourselves, and we just want to get back to playing football and showing the country how good we are.
Mauro's chosen to kind of continue with the brotherhood that got through World Cup qualification and played at the World Cup. What are you looking forward to most about some of the players that are returning, like obviously Tejan Buchanan and others? What are you looking forward to playing with them again?
Yeah, definitely. Tejan's an important player, and these players bring a lot of quality. And yeah, like you said, he brought a group, I guess that's been together for quite some time, and I think we all know each other. We all know each other so well. We played a lot of games together. We're hoping to see that chemistry bears fruits when we play against Jamaica. But yeah, having these players come back into the frame definitely boosts the team's ability.
Thanks so much, Sam. All the best against Jamaica and beyond.
Thanks, Sam. Good luck with these 2 games.
Thank you very much.
And I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby.
Sam Adekugbe there. And it's interesting in a way that he's going to be involved in this, and I wonder how much minutes he'll see, because he has been struggling with a knee injury down the stretch for the Whitecaps. but you're not going to pass up the chance to play for your country in 2 big games as well. I just hope he doesn't aggravate it or make it any worse in any way, shape or form. But I think he might just see limited minutes.
Yeah, and like any player, he was confident, right, Michael? And being able to get through these matches and also do what he needs to do to get ready for the next club season and, you know, the big dates ideally coming up for the national team as well. So yeah, that was a very professional answer, I think, that he that he gave to that, and he knows what's on the line for him. So I'm not too worried about him taking care of himself. I think he knows what to do.
Sam touched as well on his Whitecaps teammate Ali Ahmed as well, who's got the call up, and we're going to hear from Ali in the next part as well as we continue our Canadian national team chat, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Ali Ahmed. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our second of our Artists of the Month here at AFTN for November. From New Zealand, lo-fi punk band Dick Move. And that's a song from their second album, Wet, that was released last month. It's the second track on the album, and that was Under My Skin, a love song. Not one of the singles released from the album so far, but there has been a couple. You can check out all their stuff on Bandcamp, dickmove2.bandcamp.com. Great band to check out. You can find them in all the other usual places as well. And in this part, we're going to continue our international football chat. And you know what Whitecaps and Canadian national team player we love here at AFTN? Ali Ahmed, of course. It was great to see Ali get his latest call-up to the Canadian national team by Mauro Biello for these 2 matches coming up with Jamaica. He's had 4 appearances for his country so far, all at this year's Gold Cup. The Toronto native played one of those games against Guadeloupe in Toronto, now going back and having the chance to put on the jersey for his national team in front of his family and friends in his hometown. Coming off a fantastic first MLS season with the Whitecaps, he did make 2 appearances for the Whitecaps last year as an MLS Next Pro call-up, but this was his first season as a fully fledged first-team player. He made 22 appearances over the season in MLS for the Caps, 12 of them start, logging just over 1,100 minutes and getting 2 goals and 2 assists on the season as well. It was a great year for Ali. It's one he can certainly build upon going into 2024. And for me, definitely one of the standout players for the team this year, one of the best young players on the team this year as well. And rightly getting rewarded with this call-up after missing out on a call-up for the trip down to Japan last month. So I got a chance to sit down with Ali this week just to ask him about the call-up, his season that he's had with the Whitecaps, and looking ahead to these 2 massive games with Jamaica. Once again, it was the 3-headed AFTN Cerberus that fired the questions, myself, Zach and Felipe. So go stick the kettle on again. Grab your biscuit of choice, sit back and enjoy a chat with Whitecaps and Canada's Ali Ahmed. We'll focus on Canada, Ali. Couple of big games coming up. For you yourself, you've got a chance now to wear your national team jersey in basically your home city and in front of friends and family. What is that occasion going to mean to you?
It's a huge, huge honor. Obviously I had the privilege to do that earlier in the summer. And that was, more than a dream, not even just for me, my family, my friends, and, all my close peers, to play at BMO Stadium. We all grew up attending, watching some Canada games. So it was special for me to be a part of that team and just put on that jersey, and represent your country, and just, in some way try to give back, for, especially for me growing up in this country. So, it's a special honor. It's a pleasure to go and wear that jersey and, compete and fight with your brothers.
4 Whitecaps as well in the squad. You've had this chance to get this chemistry going over the last few weeks. How important is that? We were just on a call with Mauro Biello there, and he talked about you can't kind of undervalue just how much importance getting that chemistry at club level is. Has it felt like that? Have you guys talked about it as a group about this game, and have you wound Javane up a little bit about it?
Oh, for sure. We definitely been going back and forth with Javane for a couple weeks now, since it's been made official that Canada and Jamaica would be competing against each other. But yeah, for sure, having Richie, Sam, Junior, and now myself too, just always, just getting those reps in together and training and in games, you kind of know each other's tendencies, so that definitely helps for sure. Everything's in sync when we're playing on the field. So, that definitely goes a way, it definitely transitions over to the national team. So I think, that will help us in these next 2 games.
I want to ask you about if it feels different this time than when you were called up with the Gold Cup. In the Gold Cup, it was a much changed Canadian side, a lot of rotation, but now in such a crucial match in this Nations League with potential consequences in terms of Copa America qualification, you were called up once again with a full strength side with a lot of the players that we saw at the World Cup. Does that mean something different to you, knowing that you're have been so impressive both for the national team and for the Whitecaps, for you to make the cut for this crucial window?
Yeah, it does definitely feel a little different, I would say. Like you said, it was earlier in the summer, it was a bit of a rotation with the squad, but I wouldn't say it's a huge difference. I think maybe even last squad, maybe just six, 7 guys were just missing. The rest of the guys were there. But obviously, this one, I think, we know what's on the line. It's pretty huge. What's on the line. So like you said, full strength squad, and we're fighting for something huge and big. So it definitely, I would say, proud of myself to be there with the full strength. And just you want to be playing with the best, and here's my chance.
Since the Gold Cup, what have you made of your own progress since then between the 2 call-ups? How you've grown, especially alongside now some of your Canadian men's national team teammates in the club day in, day out. Do you feel more prepared for this window than you did for the Gold Cup?
Yeah, definitely. I think, once I got my first call, I think I learned a lot from that. Now I'm going into my second one, so I know, some of the ins and outs of some of the guys there, and what it takes to be there and stuff. So I'm a little more experienced, I would say. Obviously not too experienced, but I know a bit now. And obviously having the 3 other guys here, definitely it will go a long way for me. I build a good relationship with all 3 of those guys, so that will help me off and on the field going to camp now. And, obviously, building a relationship with those guys, they help you, they give me some valuable lessons, how to, carry myself as a pro when I'm there or when I'm here. So definitely having those guys help.
Are there any players that you're excited to play alongside that you didn't have the opportunity to play with the Gold Club in this upcoming window?
Yeah, all the guys, honestly, all the guys, just to be able to play with, guys who are playing the highest level in the world. It's going to be special. And, as a player, like I said, you want to be one of those players. You want to be, you want to be playing against, guys who are playing at the highest level, and, I think it'll help me grow, and it'll help me, bring my quality up. And looking forward to that, looking forward to see what that level is. So I'm looking forward to all those guys.
The World Cup qualification process for the men's national team was really kind of brought together in this idea of brotherhood that Herdman kind of installed, and Mauro has kind of continued on with that. I'm just wondering your perspective on, you've had your first time in, you're being brought back in. What has it been like for you to break into the brotherhood or be enfolded into the brotherhood? What's that process been like for you, and how have you found it?
Yeah, for sure. Before getting into squad, obviously, like last year, you watch a lot of the games, you watch a lot of the stuff going on with the national team, and you see John, preach brotherhood and, just try to build that camaraderie. My bad, I couldn't even say that word, but, you see that. So, honestly, it was easy for me, honestly. Gold Cup, guys made it very easy for me to integrate with the guys, and just off the field, amazing guys, on the field, amazing guys. You really feel that brotherhood. So I would say I felt that brotherhood from day one when I was there in the summer. And I think it's not something that's just out there. It really is true. It really is true. When you get into that group, you feel that brotherhood, and on the field and off the field, you fight for each other.
You're a very diverse player. You can play multiple positions. You've shown that in Vancouver. In an ideal scenario for Ali, obviously Mauro's making the decisions. Where would you ideally love to play for Canada if you could choose?
Obviously, lately, the last part of the season over here, I think I solidified just playing in the midfield. So I think, and I've been enjoying it. So I think, if I was able to get in that midfield again and just continue progressing and growing, and developing in that role, I think, I would love that and I would enjoy that. So, just more of the same, from what it's been like over here.
World Cup, Ali's obviously quite a few years away yet. With all respect to the Gold Cup, I think Copa America, just in standing of world football, is kind of thought of as maybe a bigger thing, and there's a lot more bigger names possibly playing in Copa. So without getting too far ahead, because two very tough games coming up, other qualification stuff as well, to get a chance though to play at a tournament like Copa against those world-class players, does it just kind of bring tingles to you thinking about that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it goes back to the same topic about, playing with the best. So, and like you said, I think Copa America is a different level, and I think for me, growing up watching, all these high level players and high football, quality, you dream to be a part of that. You dream to be competing like they do. So for sure, I think we have the team to do that. I kind of think we can kind of not focus too much about playing against this player, that team, instead of just focus like we are that team, we are those guys, and go out there and show them and compete, and forget who we're playing and forget what team we're playing, what player we're playing, and just go do our job.
Just last thing, bringing it back to the Whitecaps, season obviously now over. How do you look back at this year, both for you on a personal level, but also just for how well the team did, getting to the playoffs, winning a Canadian championship. The general feeling, like from the couple of guys we've spoken to, is felt you could have maybe gone a little bit further, and there's a little bit of frustration about that, which you can then use to carry into next year. But how do you look back overall on the year that's been?
Exactly. I think the guys said it right. You know, I think we felt we could have gone, further in the playoffs. We felt like we had the group of guys. We felt like we had the quality to go deep. But I think, maybe you could say some experience, is needed. So I think this was a step in the right direction. I think we can use this step to build on for next year, and next year, I think this step that we took will help us take the next step, which is, I feel like, is MLS Cup finals for us. And I think, we got to set that expectation and that standard from day one. And if I'm being real honest with you, I don't know if we really, set that standard and that expectation from day one coming into this year. So I think belief is a main reason. I think now we showed ourselves that, we could be, top 4, top 3 in the league. So, we got to come in from day one and believe that we're going to be a top 3 team and head to the MLS Cup final. So, I think, like you said, we could also use that fuel to come into next year and not want to have that first round exit like we just had right now, because it burns, it stinks. Now we got to watch the other teams compete for the MLS Cup final while we're home. Which sucks, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have another special year next year, and I'm looking forward to it. And obviously, personally, I think it was a good year for myself. My first year. I can't be too greedy, so I gotta be proud of myself. But I can't look back. I gotta set higher standards and expectations for myself, and just keep going and keep growing and developing and take my game hopefully to another level. Use my first year as a learning lesson to come back and fix all those mistakes I had in my first year. So it should be good next year.
Thanks so much, Ali. It's been a pleasure watching your growth this year. Good luck in these 2 games coming up as well, and yeah, we'll see you next year.
Thank you, man. See you guys.
Great stuff from Ali there. We wish Canada all the very best in these 2 matches against Jamaica. Hope Ali and the Whitecaps guys in particular really rise to the occasion and get the job done. For the red and white, will it be a big win for Canada? It's going to be a couple of tough games, got to say. If they do get by, it's not going to be a massive amount. We're not looking at a 31-0 scoreline here, which of course was the heaviest ever defeat in international football, as Australia thumped American Samoa by that scoreline back in 2001. Archie Thompson got 13 goals that day for the Aussies. David Drulich grabbed 8. And it was a game that led to a 2014 documentary and now a 2023 movie, both of which were called Next Goal Wins. And we're going to turn our attention to that now, as we bring you the latest TVOD.
TVOD, TVOD, TVOD.
So it's been a while since we had one of these TVOD sections, and as I've always said when we've done this, it's not just TV that we're going to cover in this section. We also cover movies, documentaries, some of which do end up, of course, on TV. And we're going to talk about the new film that gets released this Friday, November the 17th. It's a football movie, and you don't get too many of them getting such a big release in the cinemas. And film in question is the biographical sports comedy drama Next Goal Wins. It's a film directed by Kiwi Taika Waititi, who you might know from a number of things. For me, the man behind Jojo Rabbit, which was an absolutely fantastic film, one of my favourite films of recent times as well. And to help me talk about the film, welcome back to the show for her first appearance since December 2017, Caitlin McCall.
Thank you for having me.
Or forcing you, really, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So the reason Caitlin is on this is got an invite to an advanced screening of Next Goal Wins. So I thought, why don't I take someone with me that's not a football fan, just to kind of see what they make about the film, so we can kind of talk about how I'm looking at it from a football fan and how she looks at it from a non-football fan, just somebody that likes movies and likes to have a laugh every now and again. Now, just give you a little bit of background to this, if anyone is unaware, and I kind of talked about it in the precursor to this segment. American Samoa got beat in a World Cup qualifier 31-0 by Australia back in 2001. 10 years later, there was a documentary made called Next Goal Wins. It's also based as a book around this as well. But it was a British documentary that was released in 2014, and it chronicles the national team of American Samoa as they try to kind of recover from that biggest loss in international football and try and rebuild, and as they begin their qualifying campaign to get to Brazil for the 2014 World Cup. Now, we won't spoil too much about what happens in the documentary, what happens in the film, because obviously if you haven't seen it, we want you to enjoy it. And if you don't know the story, we want you to enjoy it. All I'll say is, my only spoiler, they didn't get to the World Cup in Brazil in 2014. But that's probably no surprise, considering we're talking about the team that was ranked 204th in the world, and heading into this qualifying campaign had conceded 228 international goals and hadn't scored any. So that was the task that was facing American Samoa. And the man that was tasked with trying to get them their first goal, get them their first win, was Dutch head coach Thomas Rongen. And MLS fans might have known Rongen from his time as a player back in the NASL days. He played with a number of teams, LA Aztecs, Washington Diplomats, Fort Lauderdale, lots of others as well. And then as a manager, he managed in MLS with Tampa Bay Mutiny, New England Revolution, DC United, Chivas, was also in charge of the American under-20 team from 2006 to 2011. And in 2011, he became the head coach of American Samoa. And the documentary chronicles him arriving there, just learning about the different cultures, trying to get the team ready for 3 World Cup qualifiers that they were going to play against Tonga, Cook Islands and Samoa, and just trying to turn the worst team in the world around and see what they can do. So, I mean, without going into the spoilers, as I mentioned, there's a lot of kind of Hollywood stuff in the whole story, especially because of where they came from that big heavy defeat. You've got things like the goalkeeper, Nicky Salapu, coming out of retirement to come back and play in these qualifiers because he wants some redemption. And interestingly, a Cascadia connection, because Nicky Salapu actually lives in Seattle these days as well. So that was the whole documentary. It was released in 2014. It's one of my favourite football documentaries, and it got a lot of critical acclaim. And it was just itching to be kind of turned into a Hollywood blockbuster, which it now has been by Taika Waititi. As I mentioned, gets released on November 17th by Searchlight Pictures. And the film chronicles the story. Wrongin's arrival, the World Cup qualifiers, trying to get the team into shape, aftermath, everything like that. So, Caitlin, you saw this film as a non-football person, as somebody that didn't know the story to it. How would you review this film? What was your thoughts on it?
As someone that really doesn't know anything at all about football, I basically went along because I was like, well, I don't know anything about American Samoa, and it, to be honest, the scenery just looked nice. So if nothing else, I'd have some pretty tropical kind of islandy scenery to look at.
And you were getting free popcorn.
Yes, free popcorn is always a main reason for me to go to the movies. I was kind of happy that there was a good mix of, not just the football aspect, but also other things that they dealt with, like the coach kind of settling into the culture there and kind of meeting people and, getting to know his team that he was coaching and things like that, and some personal aspects of his life. And then also the culture of the island of American Samoa and just them training, the whole thing. It's kept my interest all the way through, despite the film being about football and me not really being a football fan.
And of course, there is a lot of off the pitch storylines that run through it as well. One of the big ones being in American Samoa, there's three genders. There's male, there's female, and there's fa'afafine, which is kind of like a third gender, non-binary. And one of the players is fa'afafine, Jaya, and she plays a very important role in the film and the documentary. But one thing I would say is, from watching the documentary, there were some big differences from the original storyline to this. The three games that are kind of covered in the World Cup qualifiers are played a little bit in a different order. Thomas Wrongin, he's kind of, I don't know if you'd agree with this, Caitlin, he comes across as a bit of a grump in the movie. He doesn't want to be there, he's been sent there, and that wasn't true because he applied for the job. He was the only person that applied for the job. And in the movie, he arrives there on his own, whereas in reality, he arrived with his wife, Gail. They both embraced the culture. They both embraced everything about it. And I think it's also important to know that they were both there, because this was also kind of an important spiritual journey for the couple, because they'd taken this job after a very hard personal loss that they had suffered. But in the movie, for dramatic effect, they kind of make it that he's won over and doesn't want to be there, but after a while he falls in love with the place, which is different, but I guess it does make for a more dramatic effect in the film.
Yes, he does come across as kind of reluctantly being there. In the movie, he's sent there kind of with no choice to go. So it was interesting to see that isn't really what happened in reality. Another
discrepancy that actually really bothered me was, in the documentary, Thomas Wrongin and his wife are very open and welcoming to Jaya, the Fa'afafine player, and they come across, or he comes across, a little bit kind of more prejudiced at first in the film and is then won over, but he accepted her right away. So that, I feel, was a little bit of a misrepresentation, but obviously isn't as good for the story if that was the case, because they had to show him overcoming anything like that to be more accepting of her. And I think what you have to do between the two, the documentary and this, is you've got to separate it. The documentary is real life. This is done for entertainment. So if you've seen the first one and you go to this, don't expect it to be the same. It's got to be done for entertainment, because it's trying to attract a whole new audience, which I think it's going to do. Michael Fassbender plays Thomas Wrongin as well, and I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any films with Michael Fassbender in it. Maybe I have, but I thought he did a really great job in this film as well.
Not known as a comedy actor either, but really kind of capturing the comedy aspect in it. For me though, Caitlin, the person in this that steals the show is Oscar Kitely, who plays Tavita, Tavita. I can't remember how it was pronounced, but he's like the head of the American Samoa Football Federation, who every single scene you see him in is wearing some official federation equipment. Everything's branded for the federation. That's how proud he is to be in charge of it. But he was hilarious and really stole the show for me.
Yes, I'd have to agree with you there. He definitely was the highlight of the show comedy-wise, for sure.
So, I mean, it's an enjoyable romp. It's a lot of fun, which I spoke to a couple of other folk that were at the screening, and they hadn't heard of the story, they hadn't seen the documentary. So for them, they enjoyed it, and it was something that was new to them. So if you go there just looking for an entertainment thing, it's great. If you know the background and you know the original documentary, there might be some little things in it that you're not as keen on. My only other complaint, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I usually complain that films are too long. I thought in this case, this was a film that could really do with an extra maybe 20 minutes just to flesh it out a little bit and to not end so abruptly and just to tell the tale maybe just a little bit more.
Yes, I felt the exact same way. I did think it kind of ended almost unexpectedly, and you kind of go, wait a minute. There should be a little bit more, as Michael says, like fleshed out a little bit just for an extra 10, 15, 20 minutes, just to kind of wrap it all up a bit more, succinctly with a little bow.
But in short, if you're a football fan, you'll enjoy it. And if your significant other isn't a football fan, take them along as well, because I think they will also enjoy it and get a lot out of the film. Opens in cinemas on Friday. If you do go along, let us know. AFTN Canada on Twitter, aftncanada@hotmail.com. We'd love to know what you make of it, especially if you've seen the original 2014 documentary. If you were just going to watch one, I would always say pick the original, the documentary, because it's based on real life. Watch both. They both do a job. They both tell the story in a great way, and it is an absolutely fantastic story. And if you're not going to keep an eye out for American Samoa's results after this, I don't know what's wrong with you. But anyway, get to see it November 17th. Next goal wins.
TVOD. I don't need a TV screen. I just stick the aerial into my skin and let the signal run through my veins. TVOD.
So Next Goal Wins looks like a good movie. Great to have Caitlin back on the show as well there, Zach.
Always good.
Yes, maybe we'll get her back on for the Christmas special as well, since that was her only other appearance on the show when she was in the studio up at CITR with us.
That was fun.
It was.
I miss the studio days.
I know.
I mean, I don't miss the drive, but I miss
Yeah, it's even worse drive for you now.
Yeah.
No, the pre-recorded stuff's way better. But Next Goal Wins in cinemas from Friday. Do you think it's a film you might go along to see? You might take the family to go along and see?
My kids have seen the trailers and stuff, and they see Taika Waititi's name attached to it. So they're like, what's this, Dad? Are we going to see this? I don't know if I'll see it in the theater. I'll definitely watch it at some point.
It's a good watch.
I've read the book. I've read the book 31-0, right? Which So I'm interested in the story, and Magneto there plays Thomas Rongan. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender.
He's also one of the many great actors who was a part of Band of Brothers, which I have a lot of time for. Yeah, no, I think I don't know if I'll see it in theaters for sure, but I'll definitely go watch it. I definitely will watch it at some point.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I hope it does well. If anyone's going expecting it to be a kind of Ted Lasso thing as well, I guess the changes that they've made to Rongan's character probably has part of Ted Lasso behind it, because folk like that. But yeah, and it would be interesting if we can try and get Thomas Rongan on the show. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to know what he makes of the portrayal of himself, because it's not the most flattering as opposed to the reality. But yeah, as I said, let us know what you think if you do go and see it.
On a separate note, I finally got my wife to watch Ted Lasso. So she's watched season 1. We now got season 2, and we're a couple episodes in or whatever. It's been fun to rewatch it with her.
I still haven't seen one episode of it.
Oh, Michael.
I am going to, because someone's gave us a free Apple TV pass for 3 months, so I'm going to get it set up once. Now the football stuff's kind of all done and dusted, and I've got a bit more time, so I will be binging that. So that should be good.
Yeah, I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And I think it's a kind of show you can watch with Caitlin, because it's got a lot of layers to it that are enjoyable.
I'll convert her to be a football fan at some
one
point.
of these days.
Yeah. that is nearly it for the show. Of course, we can't finish without this episode's wavelength. Well, we could, but it's contractually obligated that we have to finish with wavelength. No, I joke. I just love playing these songs. And if you're a new listener, our wavelength section is where we play a song about football. It could be by a proper band or singer. It could be by a footballer. It could be by football teams. We travel the world. We've been playing these songs since 2017, and I still haven't run out. I've still got a load to bring you in the months to come. Hopefully I will never run out or have to resort to playing just foreign language songs, of which there is tons, which you can find on a website called 45football.com, incidentally, which is where I actually found this song. Because when Canada played Japan last month, I wanted to get a song about the Japanese national team, and then I ended up not playing it in the show. But I thought, well, we'll play it now, because we've just played Japan, and it's a song by a Japanese reggae dub artist, and you don't get many of them.
No.
And since we're playing Jamaica, and that's where reggae and everything obviously comes from, that area, this is a singer called Jamin Man, and his song from 1998 celebrating Japan getting to their first ever World Cup. It's simply called Japanese Football Team.
All of the Japanese football fans, Japanese boys are got friends. You know ready for this song? This me a Jamaican man. Japanese boys, come on, kick off. Japanese football team win a World Cup. Me no stop respect them to the max. Japanese football team win a World Cup. Japanese DJ me a show them me rap. Keep ball, be a ball under control. If you are smart, them a tall make you fall. If them trouble you pass to the wall. If you get through, run to the goal. Run never walk, use Japanese talk like Ike Ike maware, ura maware, boutya, iku de mawasu de utte ike. Shoot ball, any, kana shoot ball to the goal, boy goal. If I can't reach, can't touch such an area. Goalkeeper scared, I can't reach far. If you succeed, you a get score. Japanese score, you a superstar. There's a goal, make your goal, make them ball. The door, we need to show no violence anymore. Just maintain a calm who can't be ignored. We'll tell you before. All of me friends, them hear me I say, Japanese big up no just one day. Japanese the football team win a World Cup. Me no stop respect them to the max. Japanese the football team win a World Cup. Japanese DJ me a show them me rap. Go to the World Cup with ambition. Play no best in any condition. Keep ball well like you a magician. Dribble ball pass with tricky action. Make them not understand who and which part gone. Make you a fan glass, you a fan in Japan. Shoot ball, any. Gonna shoot ball to the goal, who a goal. Keeper can't reach, can't touch such an area. Goalkeeper scared, can't reach far. If you succeed, you a get score. Japanese score, you a superstar. Then the goal, make your goal, make them ball. Come on, kick off. Japanese football team win a World Cup. Me no stop to respect them to the max. Japanese football team win a World Cup. Japanese DJ me a show them me rap. World Cup, you know that, and a coffee cup. World Cup anywhere, a game never flap. Excitement start from kick off. Enough pass ball, enough cut, enough shot. Team player, them play non-stop. Everybody I go try for reach fast up. Me a DJ use mic, chat, me a chat. Dance hall reggae mix with hip hop. Keep a ball, be a ball under control. If you are small, them a tall make you fall. If them trouble you, pass through the wall. If you get through, run to the goal. Run never walk, use the Japanese talk like Ike Ike maware, ura maware. Japanese football team in a World Cup. Me no stop to respect them to the max. Japanese football team in a World Cup. Japanese DJ me a show them me rap. Go to the World Cup with ambition. Play in the best in any condition. Keep the ball well like for you a magician. Dribble ball pass with a tricky action. Make them not understand when quick spot gun make you a fan.
Something a little different for you, some Japanese reggae and dub. Jamin Man and Japanese football team. That is it for this episode of the show. It's not been as long as some of his other ones, but a lot of good chat in it. Any final thoughts from you, Zach? Anything funny caught your eye? Anything you just want to finish off by saying?
No, I don't know. Enjoy the show. I do want to say that, Miami might have lost the Noche d'Or or the Golden Night, I guess. But don't worry, they started the night by having Messi walk out with his Ballon d'Or. So there was one trophy on display.
There was one door.
Yeah, there was one door for them.
Wow.
That was we talked about it before. I didn't enjoy that being given to him, but
one last thing I want to say, we mentioned in the last part, Mauro Biello could be in line for the Montreal head coaching's job, which has now become available.
Oh yeah.
And do you know who I think could be a man that might get this? If he doesn't get the Colorado Rapids job, which he is in the mix for, Pamadou Ka.
Oh yeah, I saw him for that one.
Speaks French, good pedigree.
Oui.
I think he could very much be up there. Bobby Smirniotis, of course, is a name that everyone will put forward. Maybe he's been doing Duolingo and learning some French to help him get the job. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting appointment for Montreal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think I've seen this. I know been thrown around in the past about trying to bring Jesse Marsh back. I don't see him wanting to go back there, but
I don't know. But we'll get Eve on in one of the sort of end of season shows as well, just to talk about the state of Montreal and what's happened to them. But yeah, that's going to be a very interesting appointment. That's it for the show. Read all our stuff, aftn.ca. Going to have a ton of college soccer stuff going up on the site this week. And watch our tweets. We'll be tweeting out where you can watch SFU men and women in their post-season as their NCAA Division 2 national tournament gets underway. Follow our stuff on YouTube as well, /AFTN Canada. I'll be getting out to some VMSL games over the next little while. Until next time, as always, thanks for listening. Take care. Mon the Caps and Ali Le Rouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.